I guess it's unsurprising to report this story. The DOJ is filing multiple indictments against the whistleblower who alleged Biden received payments from the CCP. That is to say, the Biden administration is going after the guy blowing the whistle on the corruption in the Biden family. Is anyone shocked to hear that story? Considering what they're doing and going after Donald Trump, I am not surprised in the least bit. So we will talk about that. Also got a bunch of other stories. Oh man, this one's hilarious. Jack White, he's the guitar player from the White Stripes. He's losing it because there's a video of Joe Rogan meeting Donald Trump and shaking his hand. That's it. Joe Rogan at UFC shook Donald Trump's hand, smiled, and they talked for like 10 seconds, and that was it. And he's got this post about Mel Gibson and all these people. We definitely got to talk about Trump derangement syndrome. We're going to talk about the presidential election. We got to talk about what's going on with the Bidens and Ron DeSantis. There's some fake news about Ron DeSantis where many people were claiming that DeSantis argued Trump colluded with big tech, and that is fake reporting. DeSantis said Trump should have fired the intelligence agencies that were doing this. There's some nuance here, whether or not Trump knew, but I can say the media is lying about it. So we'll definitely talk about that. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com and purchase Cast Brew coffee. It's the best coffee you'll ever have, in my opinion, because it's my favorite. And you can grab the Rise with Roberto Jr. breakfast blend, the Cast Brew coffee Appalachian Nights. Man, those two, I can't even figure out which one's my favorite, to be completely honest. Or you can join the Cast Brew Coffee Club. 3 bags of coffee every month. This is our company. We're sponsoring ourselves. So when you buy coffee from us, you're helping all of the work we do. You're funding all the journalism. And if you got an office or a company that typically stocks their workroom with coffee, why don't you buy some Cast Brew coffee so, you're helping us out. Also, head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member, and you can watch the members only uncensored show Monday through Thursday. We're going to have one up for you tonight at about 10 p.m. where you can even call in and talk to us and our guests. So definitely sign up directly to support our work. And also smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Natalie Winters.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So who are you? What do you do?
I am the co-host of Steve Bannon's War Room. This is my second time on the show here, and I used to be an investigative reporter at the National Pulse.
It's really convenient you're here, too, with this Biden DOJ stuff because you know a ton about it.
Meant to be.
Absolutely. Right.
I feel bad for the guy, but yes.
Yes.
good for the audience and good for you guys.
Yeah. We'll talk about some other cultural stuff, too. We got some fun stuff to talk about. We got Hannah Claire hanging out.
Hey, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlaw. I'm a writer for Timcast.com.
And I am Ian Crossland. What's up, everybody? Good to see you on this beautiful Monday. Let's get ready.
Yes, it is a good day. What's up, Ian? What's up, everybody?
Hey,
it's Kellen. I'm filling in for Serge tonight. Let's get started.
Here's the story from the Post-Millennial. DOJ announces multiple indictments against whistleblower who alleged Biden received payments from CCP-affiliated individuals. I love this story because it's kind of obvious. It's just so on the nose. Like, hey, I'm a guy who says that there's corruption happening with Joe Biden, and then Joe Biden's like, you're under arrest. It's just really that simple. Huh? The DOJ has announced multiple indictments against Dr. Gal Luft, the Israeli-American co-head of a Maryland think tank who gained notoriety as the missing witness in the investigation into Joe Biden's corruption. The New York Post recently shared a video of Luft wherein he broke down the allegations made against Biden and claimed that he'd been arrested to prevent him from testifying to the House Oversight Committee with damning evidence against the First Family. Now, long after coming out as a whistleblower, Luft himself has been charged by the Biden DOJ for allegedly engaging in multiple serious schemes involving the Chinese and Iranians alongside a former high-ranking U.S. government official. The charges include numerous offenses related to failing to register under the Foreign Agents Registration Act, arms trafficking, Iranian sanctions violations, and making false statements to federal agents. Wouldn't Hunter Biden have to do the same thing with Farah as well? But I don't know if there's more to this story or what's going on. I don't know if you have a bigger view of this, Natalie.
Sure. Well, there is nothing more hypocritical than coming after him for not registering with the Foreign Agent Registration Act as someone who has read Farah too many times. I joke I'm probably the only American who frequents that website. Hunter Biden's name is never on there, even though it should be, not just for China, but also for Ukraine, also for Iraq, also for Russia, you name it, the list goes on. But it's important to remember that this is just one of several whistleblowers. If you remember James Comer, who's leading these investigations for the House, he said that there were about 10 whistleblowers. 7 of them, they don't know what happened to them. They just couldn't find them. Ooh. 2 of them had been indicted, and the other, if you remember, he was giving an interview, I think it was on Fox, and he's like, we think they may be dead. So keep in mind that even though the story is absolutely ridiculous, it's all the ridiculous more 10 times over because there are so many people like him.
Have you guys seen that crazy video of the woman on the plane is like screaming about how the dude's not real or something.
Yes.
I don't know what that was all about. I read something where she said, like, apparently people were like, she claims the guy winked sideways or something like that. I have no idea. But I was watching that, and after just seeing all of these different conspiracy theories, at this point, I'm like ready to believe her that like a lizard person was on the planet. I'm kidding, by the way. but what I mean, I bring it up because you hear the story and it's like, well, some of the whistleblowers may be dead. We don't know where these ones are. This guy's being criminally charged after calling out the Bidens and, accusing them of corruption. And I'm just like, yeah, it's probably true. Like the Bidens are doing this and they're panicking and frantically trying to cover things up. Because what's the simple solution here? That all of these whistleblowers, witnesses, every story, every video, every claim, every text message, it's all part of some Russian plot to discredit the Bidens? Sorry, probably not the case.
It's so bold and it's so in your face, and I think it sort of proves in some ways the guilt of the Biden family. What I mean by that is that the same family that is so willing to issue indictments against people who are obviously calling the whistle, calling them out for their actions with hard, cold facts, real evidence. Of course, they would be bold and brash enough to take money from the Chinese Communist Party while Joe Biden is in office and think they could get away with it. I think it just shows you the mindset of this family and, frankly, how offensive it is to the American people that they think that they can get away with doing it and that people like us are dumb enough to just, oh, he's crazy.
To be fair, though, like imagine what it must be like to be in the Biden family and you're getting all this negative attention and they're going like, the Clintons did it.
Yeah.
Why are you mad at us? Like,
We're just following an American tradition.
That's right.
Yeah. How can you take away our culture from us? This is our right as your elite. I don't understand.
Yeah, the Clinton Global Initiative and the Clinton Foundation, all that good stuff. Yeah. I think that the Bidens were looking at that level of influence peddling and Joe being fairly incompetent. I mean, to be fair, like fairly competent. He's made it pretty far. He was a senator for a long time. He was in politics for 50 years. So he's not completely bad at what he does. But he's not on the Clinton level. Hillary Clinton, she's a special kind of witch. You know what I mean? Like she was able to pull it off. Congratulations to her and all of the awful things she did. But she got away with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, remember,
Biden's have a hard time.
Chucked her hard drives into the Potomac. Hunter Biden brought it to a repair shop in Delaware. And I think that sort of was the fuse that lit a lot of this off because the American, I think that's maybe too where some of the frustration comes from with the lack of accountability and investigations and really indictments, at least from House Republicans going after people who are involved in the whole Hunter Biden crime ring, is because the American people are sort of getting this like sense of deja vu because through this hard drive, through investigative journalism and actual media reports, they've known about all of this. Like Gal Luft is a name who's been around for a really long time. He's on the hard drive. These are stories that are sort of just resurfacing. And I think that's why it's all the more curious why they're indicting them now, because Gal Luft, all these types were saying these things and have been for a very long time, right? The hard drive has been out there for a while. We've written stories. War Room has talked a lot about people like Gal Luft, all the other whistleblowers, the names that are on the hard drive. So I think it's curious. It's like, why now? I think that same logic applies to why are they going after Hunter Biden on taxes now? Like, what's the timing?
Well, I got to ask for clarification. You said
Sure.
She threw her hard drives into the Potomac. Considering how crazy the story's been, was that literal or you just mean figuratively?
I guess a metaphorical there, but my point is,
Because she had them smashed with the phone smashed with hammers.
I guess it's
and-
too euphemistic to say they threw
Yeah.
it at the. I'm sure.
Oh, they're going to come up and be like fact check.
I'm
false.
sure that at least one technological device that belongs to the Clinton family has been thrown in some capacity into the Potomac. I will go on the record with that.
I think it's a fair assumption. What we
Yeah.
do literally know is that the hard drives were purged with bleach bit.
Yeah.
And aides for the Clintons smashed phones with hammers to try and get rid of. It doesn't do anything, by the way. It's like the stupidest attempt at getting rid of data. But yeah, I mean that's exactly what they did. So I wonder if the bigger issue with the Bidens is that they're just sloppy, inexperienced, and incompetent when it comes to being corrupt.
And
Yeah.
I think there is a lack of discipline there.
Crack, we'll do that.
Yeah, you think that's it?
Yeah.
Lack of familial leadership and crack cocaine really just ruins your ability to be a completely corrupt family. I mean, we know in early June, Anna Paulina Luna tweeted about this FBI. The FBI is afraid the whistleblower will die if he is unmasked, which seemed crazy. And also we all laughed because it was like, are you saying you guys would attack this person? Like, it didn't make any sense.
Right.
At the same time, it's exactly what the simplest explanation is probably what it is, that there is some kind of internal pressure from the Biden administration to silence anyone who is going to oppose them or challenge anything they have. I mean, the Biden family lies to your face constantly. How many grandchildren does Joe Biden have? because he just pretends one
There's
of them
an
doesn't
extra
exist.
one.
Yeah, well, we don't
got
talk about
extra
that
ones.
one. Not allowed to use the last name, therefore not real. I mean, the Hunter Biden's daughter with
Illegitimate kid or something?
Yeah.
Sorry, kid.
It
You're
was
not
was it
illegitimate in
a
my house.
prostitute?
it's a prostitute. He then tried to like lie about like he hired her to his foundation, then he denied it. There was a paternity test. They just settled their child support case, and one of the stipulations that he had was this child cannot use my name. I will pay a certain amount of money for it, but I will not acknowledge it
Joe
anyway.
did that?
That's like old
And
monarchy tactics. They don't want to.
it's crazy. So that's how the Biden family views themselves, that you are supposed to accept that even when it's completely confirmed that something is wrong, you're supposed to ignore it because they asked you to. Seems crazy to me.
With the guy that they were afraid, the whistleblower they thought was going to die, was that this guy? They were like, we got to hide his identity because we're afraid he's going to get killed. Is that the guy?
I don't think they clarified
No.
on that whistleblower.
It was just one of the 10?
They said they were worried if the identity of the whistleblower got out, they would die.
Didn't say who it
Sometimes
was.
the cohesion on the messaging from
Yeah.
our dear House Republican friends, not always on the same level. Sometimes there's some confusion about who they're talking about, but that had to do when they were unearthing new evidence about a whole pay-for-play scheme that had to do with Romania. It wasn't explicitly linked to that pay-for-play because there's a lot of pay-for-play, there's a lot of countries, there's a lot of people involved. But I also think, to your point, why we've seen so many whistleblowers, especially on this front, and this again is me speculating, but the whole Clinton operation, I think, was very seamless and well run in the sense that the people who were in it was a tight ship. With the Biden regime, what they were doing, it seems like a lot of these people, it wasn't so much ideological, they were just in it for the money. And you can see that on the hard drive. You can see that in the emails. It was just, we have a chance to exploit the vice president's son. And I think that's why you've seen a lot of these people sort of turn on the Biden family now, those that haven't been dissuaded by stories like this. And I think that might be why they're actually trying to come out so forcefully, because they know deep down the people like Eric Schwerin, the Devin Archers of the world, basically all of Hunter Biden's, Yale classmates and peers and roommates, they were just on the money team, right? It wasn't like, oh, we want to spread democracy abroad. We want to do whatever the Uniparty wants to do and all these kind of, no, they just wanted to turn a profit. And those people, I think, are very easily turned with the threat of, oh, well, you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail if you don't tell us. So that's why if you do read through the headlines, like a lot of these people behind the scenes have been complying with either off the record or on the record interviews with Congress, but it's sort of a painful process, I think, time-wise, to let it work itself out.
My view of the Biden family is like, it's like Arrested Development.
Yeah.
For real. Biden sit down with Hunter and he's just like, what did you do? And he's like, Dad, I was smoking crack. I don't remember.
This is so much. It's
be
like the age
hilarious
of the
to
internet
watch.
because the Clintons didn't have the internet. The internet didn't exist back then, really. Now it's all just people are finding it. People are finding out what's happening if this has gone on with the
Especially since
Clintons.
he recorded himself.
Yeah,
Hunter in particular.
saying I'm in business with the effing spy chief of China. But to your point, the Axios story that they had come out today where they're like, Joe Biden is Mr. Strongman.
I just pulled that up.
Right, screaming at everyone. I would love, again, I'm sure it's not true. He's like the old man in The Simpsons screaming at the cloud. I don't think he knows what's going on.
Mood swings are part of Alzheimer's.
Sure,
though. I don't
right?
want to give out bad medical information. I do
No,
think
that
that
says
part
it
of
in
it.
the article. Dementia.
Oh, really?
I
I
think they
didn't
mentioned
read
it.
it.
Yeah.
Imagine though, take that story at face value. Imagine how he would be screaming at Hunter Biden.
Let me pull this story up from Axios. I just want to say that I got to give a shout out to Axios for one-upping the New York Post in their pun game. Old Yeller, Biden's private fury. Bravo, Axios.
Solid.
Had to add a little bit of insult to that. So look at this picture of Joe Biden. It's like the dark Brandon meme. Basically, the gist of the story is very, very simple. They're arguing that privately Joe Biden's screaming at people, insulting them, saying, don't effing BS me, get the F out of here. And that they claim that if he doesn't yell at you, in fact, he doesn't respect you. Here's what I actually think. No one is safe, said one official. One view of this is that they're putting this story out there to make it seem like Joe Biden is spry.
That he has
he's
some kind of
not.
fire.
Because here's what's going to happen. A lot of regular people who don't watch shows like this, who don't watch clips of Joe Biden, are going to imagine him as this like energetic guy being like, hey, you tell me, I'll tell you. Like they are secondhand trying to convince us that Joe Biden's a hard ass. I'm not going to buy it because I've seen videos of him falling up the stairs. But this is what they're trying to do.
Today he got lost on stage and had to be guided by the King of England. Like, it's not great. I mean, also, it's giving Trump on The Apprentice, right? Like, we already have a strong leader in politics. There's someone else whose personality you said was too intense for this. I think what gets me about the Biden family is if you're going to be corrupt, you have to secure your legacy for maintaining influence when you can no longer be in the public positions of power, right? So, like, I don't know, but maybe the Clinton Foundation, for example, that would be a way to continue to have influence after the fact. But right now, with the Bidens, I don't know of any kind of nonprofit that they successfully run. There's no heir apparent. Obviously, tragically, Beau was apparently the best kid and also passed away first. And then we have his daughter and we have Hunter, who neither one of them are going to launch political campaigns soon. So it's not like the Bush family where there was a son, a couple of them coming up through the ranks. I mean, if Joe Biden is really in cognitive decline, this is the end of them. So there is a reason
the grandkid,
right? And there is a
They need as many as they
right.
can get.
Seriously, she's from Middle America. She's from Arkansas. But I was going to say there's nowhere to go. So why wouldn't everyone bail out on them? To your point, like they don't have any loyalty to the power. They have loyalty to the money.
I'd even link this story to the hard drive. And what I mean by that is when I was doing a lot of my early reporting on the hard drive, the people that I was working on it with, we would always sit around and joke, these are the stories that they're eventually going to use to impeach Joe Biden with, right? And if you saw the last 2 weeks or so, there's definitely been more media attention given to the Hunter Biden hard drive and what's going on there and the people who are involved. Even it cuts through the mainstream media occasionally. And I think that a lot of this media war that we're seeing duke out is sort of between the Democratic establishment, like the DNC, and Joe Biden in terms of trying to determine who the candidate is going to be for 2024. And I think a lot of the people who don't want Joe Biden to run again are playing up the hard drive stuff to try to take him out of the running. And I think this in some ways is maybe the Biden camp saying like, no, Joe Biden is in control. He's in...
He yells at people.
My favorite, by the way, the best part of the article, if you read down the bullet point where he's like, he gets really mad at all the Yale-educated staffers using acronyms. I was like, it's so fake. It's so feigned.
But he cannot remember the acronyms.
Yeah,
maybe
you don't use UN. Yeah, like what?
What does that mean? Yeah. I have forgotten.
He's probably just sitting there going, "Huh? What you?" Oh, and they're just like, "Oh, he's getting ornery again."
I would get frustrated if I were constantly confused too. That's not fun.
But this is the sad thing about Joe Biden. One of the signs of someone suffering from dementia is anger, because what happens to the person when they can't remember and they can't understand what's happening, it's frustrating for people. It's you're sitting here and people are saying words you don't understand, you can't remember, and you're getting angry with yourself like, why can't I remember what they're talking about? And you just get mad and you just outburst. So this happens to a lot of older people when they get frustrated with being unable to deal with the situation. Because I mean, for most of our lives, our wits are about us. We can respond, we can react. Sometimes we don't know things, it's fine. But imagine knowing you know it, but you can't recall it. It's just so frustrating to lose that control. It's sad, really. But I gotta say, as sad as it may be, like the dude should not be president.
Yeah, it's also, this is just like, I think it's a derivation of his actual personality, which according to, who's this, Jeff Connaughton, a former Biden campaign and Senate aide, chief of staff to Kaufman when he filled Biden's seat in the Senate, said that he was, that Biden was an egomaniacal autocrat determined to manage his staff through fear. This guy's got a reputation of being a real nasty guy. I mean, there's a video of him being like, if they are found with this much crack, you will serve 5 years. I don't know what his minimum years in prison was that he didn't do to Hunter when Hunter.
I like that video because then someone cut it so that there were clips of Hunter Biden in between while he's like, you hear Joe Biden's voice being like, this is on, you'll go to jail. Meanwhile, it's like his Hunter's home movies. I don't know. I thought that
driving
was really
crack, doing crack while driving.
Yeah, he's like smoking. You're like, I feel like if only your father could have known.
But come on, hold on. Could you imagine being Hunter Biden and you're driving down the street smoking crack and he's thinking, man, life is good.
In the Porsche, and the nice new whip.
Takes a picture to make sure he saves that memory.
But doesn't that speak to the complete arrogance of this family that Hunter Biden could drop his laptop off at a just normal repair shop and think nothing bad can happen to me. I am too important and too powerful.
Oh, I bet Joe has said to Hunter, and I don't know, probably like, I'll take care of it. Whatever, I got it, Hunter.
I bet it's
and Joe probably
happened.
gets off on that. He's probably like, I'm so powerful. I can protect the weak. No,
I
I bet he loves it.
I bet I bet Joe goes to Hunter and says, "You're a worthless, stupid little piece of
He probably
ass."
does that too.
And
And
the
he's like,
only
but I'll
reason-
take care of it. Don't worry.
No, he didn't say that.
The abusive and then
he says,
savior.
the only reason I'm taking care of it is because I get the 10% cut, and don't you forget it.
You think he's that straightforward with it?
Absolutely.
I wonder.
When there were those leaked messages where it's like dad takes your salary or whatever that was all about. What is that? Like Joe takes the salaries from his kids or something? He like controls their lives, allegedly.
And this is something that his daughter referenced in her diary that got published, right? Like that their dad is controlling that he controls their finances.
I thought it was a text message from Hunter that said something like,
I think there is a Hunter thing, and I'm saying there's also this thing in the Bible, which would mean that theoretically both of his kids are confirming that this is a controlled family, which either means that he does not think his adult children can handle themselves, or that there is a very strange imbalance of power in this family, which might explain, again, why there's nowhere for the Biden family to go. There's no one to take over. There's no clear direction. So though they have garnered a lot of influence, ultimately people will bail out of the ship.
yeah.
That's one way to put it. Yeah. When people turn on the hated, there's one thing that we're missing with Joe Biden is modern video of him just being normal and talking to people, like in his regular environment. It's all curated speech crap. Like, I don't even know what his personality's like, to be honest. I've never really seen him chill and like have a long conversation with
Because he
somebody.
just plagiarizes things.
Yeah, literally,
That's his
he
character.
dropped out of the 1988 run for presidency because he was plagiarizing, got caught plagiarizing.
Man, those were the days, though. You know, you could literally say whatever you wanted because you couldn't fact check anything. Because like, what are you gonna do? There's no internet.
Yeah.
And then someone was like, "Hey, that's the exact verbatim quote from this other guy." He's like, "Oh, I'm caught." That's the funny thing, though. What if Biden was just like, "No, it's not." How are you gonna prove it?
The media would be like, oh, well, it turns out that Joe Biden said at first time travel, then this other guy ripped him off, and then Joe Biden went back in time. Like,
But today
they would bend to his will.
Today we can play videos and prove a thing is false. Back then, it's just like what Biden would say a thing, the media would be like, "Not true," and he'd go like, "Ah, you got me." Why wouldn't you just be like, they're lying? No, like, that's my speech. Have a nice day. No one's gonna hear it. I mean, here's the crazy. Like, he didn't. Why did he drop out of the race?
I guess they had proof because they'll play video of him talking
course.
with like Robert
gonna
F.
hear
Kennedy talking, and he's like saying the same stuff. I guess they had that technology. It was good.
Wait, he's
enough.
doing that now?
I think. Well, I don't know. No, that was from 1988. But now they'll still tell you that they didn't say it right after they said it, and there's video proof that they
Who
said
else
it.
was running that year? I mean, I think part of it might just be that he didn't have the
George Bush Sr., or
institutional
was it
prowess to stay in
Clinton?
the right. No one was going to back him up. That could be it. I haven't looked into it.
88. What was that? Dukakis and George Bush Sr. I think it was Michael Dukakis.
Might be.
Yeah, it was. That was a Democratic
I was too.
guy.
So,
it was a boring time.
I
to
wasn't
be alive.
around.
I wasn't alive.
I don't know. I will study my U.S. history and get back to
I
you.
watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was my 1988. It was much
fun.
better. Yes. Although that's the thing, man. We were all like in that, snowed into that dome that they had us captured in, that media dome. Now we're outside of it.
It's weird, really, how the internet has been like one of the best things ever and one of the worst things ever at the same time.
Yeah.
It's created this group of people who are able to understand a lot more than we've ever understood, and also a psychotic death cult that sterilizes kids. So, there's that.
Trying to communicate with text, I think, is... So they'll look back and realize how damaging it was, because we used to write letters and mail them to each other, but it was like a last resort. If you left a note on your refrigerator for your roommate, it was passive aggressive and nasty. If you didn't go to your roommate and just talk to their face. But now, like, talk about passive aggressive text conversations.
Okay, yeah.
And trying to have a relation, like, what you think people are going to, why is there like an 80% divorce rate or whatever, 60% divorce rate, 50% of people, males under 30 haven't had sex in the last year, some crazy number, like, this stupid misuse of the internet.
Let's talk about the nightmare dystopia for which is upon us. In this story from the Post Millennial, Illinois to force landlords to rent to illegal immigrants. Full stop. Holy crap. Is this a Third Amendment violation? Right?
Well, they're not soldiers, I guess.
Doesn't matter. We had a member mention this, that the Third Amendment, the spirit of it goes beyond just the idea of quartering soldiers, because there was a Supreme Court ruling on it. And the general idea was the government could not intrude on your home. The government forcing you to house anyone, I think, would fall into the Third Amendment. So the question would be, what is the spirit of the Third Amendment? And the idea was the government forcing people into your homes. But I suppose you could make the argument it only referred to quartering soldiers. Here's a story from the Post Millennial. Illegal immigrants will soon be granted housing rights in the state of Illinois after Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a new bill into law that makes immigration status a protected class. This means that landlords will not be able to deny illegal immigrants housing as average home prices skyrocket across the state. So it's not like they're going to the landlords with an illegal immigrant being like, house them. It's that an illegal immigrant will come, say, I want to live here, and you can't deny them based on the fact that they're not citizens, which is kind of crazy because there might be like other laws you are breaking if you don't deny them, right? Because what do you get, like as a landlord? Well, they're not citizens. Can I rent to them? You're going to report them? I got to say that is the one thing where I'm less worried about the whole story. If an illegal immigrant's going to find an apartment and someone's going to be like, I don't want you to live here, do you think they're going to say, well, you have to? No, the landlord's going to call ICE and just be like, here, problem solved. There you go. But it is insane they're offering up immigration status as a protected class.
Do you think that there would be repercussions for calling ICE? Like, do you think the landlord did that?
Throwing bricks through windows?
Or like, could you potentially, because our rule of law gets crazier and crazier all the time, could you get accused of, being discriminatory or a hate crime because you called ICE on someone you suspected was an illegal immigrant? I mean, there might be other repercussions by adding this to being a protected class.
Depends on where we go as a country.
Yeah.
Because if depending on who wins the culture war, where we end up in 100 years, it'll change how all of this is framed. And they already weren't Democrats already running ads that likened arresting illegal immigrants to the same as rounding up Jews? There was like some viral videos where it showed like the image changed or something like that. No, what was that all about? I think that might have been something else. I don't know. But the Democrats have already likened immigration detention centers to concentration camps. Likened, outright called them that. AOC with their fake photos crying in front of these parking lots or whatever, and then claiming that the detention centers put up by Obama were concentration camps. And then as soon as Trump is out of office, they're once again holding centers. But so I guess the question is, if you are somebody who reports an illegal immigrant, you need to ask yourself, are you going to ensure that American values win the culture war? Because if you're not, I'll tell you, after the far left extremists win and there's struggle sessions happening all over, they're going to accuse you of being a Nazi, and they're going to say, see, this proves it.
I think depending on who wins the culture war, if it's the far left, I don't even know if we'll have landlords because it'll probably be BlackRock owning everything, and we'll all be living in our little 15-minute cities with our
and then there's no illegal immigration because the borders
there's no
just
borders.
open.
We have a global government, so maybe there we go.
Society collapses quickly but swiftly.
The CEO of BlackRock's talking about Bitcoin, loving on Bitcoin right now. The total great tracking mechanism.
That's what he said?
No, he didn't say tracking mechanism. He just said, I have a lot of hope for the future. We at BlackRock, we have hope is one of our main tenets. And I just want to talk about Bitcoin because it's a hedge against in case I'm going to stop talking now. He didn't want to be like,
well, BRICS is
just in
launching
case
gold
the
backed
economy.
currency.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like anything that gives BlackRock hope, we should all just be very wary of.
Oh, yeah. If the CEO of BlackRock
Just
is
a rule
saying,
of
I
thumb
care
for
about
life.
hope, and here's Bitcoin, I think that he's telling you if you want to have hope for the future to get that. I don't know. But that's what it feels like, is he's like, here's my get out of jail free pass. Do you want it?
Yeah.
Because I'm talking about Bitcoin right now, and we are BlackRock.
This is a lot like what I think Alex Jones was talking about on the Culture War podcast a few months ago, that these elites set a bunch of bear traps, publicly announce where they are, and then sit back and wait. Mm-hmm. And their mentality is, if you're smart enough to avoid them, you deserve to avoid them. And if you're stupid enough to walk into them, then you deserve to. And so this sounds very much like that. All of these problems happening all over the world, in the United States, with the problems, especially with illegal immigration, if you're paying attention to it, you are actively navigating through the bear traps. Mm-hmm. And for the rest of the people living in big cities, they're walking straight into them.
Well, and you have to remember that someone benefits from illegal immigration, right? They wouldn't, if we all agreed it was bad and it didn't help anyone, then we would close the border. But ultimately, Democrats tend to like high illegal immigration areas, because they tend to tip the census to support their candidates. It helps them when it comes to election years. So I think strategically, like with Illinois, this is a way to lock down more rural areas and potentially have more influence among voters there. If you're making landlords who might not want to house illegal immigrants in their residences, wherever that be, it makes it so potentially you can gain control over an area because, again, you're changing the demographics of more of the state. And I think that's the problem here. I think that people don't take immigration seriously because it makes them uncomfortable to talk about. Like, saying illegal immigration is a protected class is like saying it doesn't matter to everyone who tried to migrate here illegally, because actually you don't have the same protections as someone who is illegal. That they don't care about legal immigration. They don't care about upholding the rule of law. They care about getting their way in the end.
It feels like Democrats, liberals are just fire. They're consuming and destroying everything around them.
Well, and please fact check me, but obviously Illinois is more than Chicago, but I went to school in Chicago. I lived basically on the south side, and I would wager that the places that most of these illegal immigrants are going to be moving into, since if they're illegal, how are they working? They're probably not making that much money. They're going to be moving into the south side of Chicago, right, where the cheapest housing is. And that's going to not only create problems, but it's going to push out people who are living there. So you're all these, liberals complaining about gentrification. And meanwhile, they're sort of, if you read that last sentence, in Chicago, the most populated city in Illinois, the median rent has increased from $1,750 per month to $1,900 a month. And it's just so interesting to me, if you're trying to help Chicago residents, right, who are getting priced out of being able to live in their houses, getting pushed out, you're now going to add a massive influx of people that you basically have to say, yes, you can live here, and if not, you're going to be like accused of a hate crime. It's so backwards, and there's no way to rationalize that policy from the perspective of actually putting Chicago residents, meanwhile, when they're not having like dozens of people die every weekend because of shootings. Oh, what we should do right now is make sure Hondurans can live in houses in Chicago.
I mean, the biggest argument for ending birthright citizenship is typically this means that you will not be incentivizing people to cross the border just by saying, if you get here on time and have a baby here, you now have citizenship and claim to the country, and you could participate in DACA and everything else. And in some ways, Illinois is now saying, like, we'll do the same thing. If you can get here, we're going to give you special protections. And therefore, they are making it likely that if you were an illegal immigrant and you heard, hey, well, I won't get kicked out of an apartment because of my immigration status, which, there are benefits to going to Chicago. They are making it more inviting to encourage illegal immigration, which is incredibly dangerous for everyone involved, both the effect it has on our country, but also for the people who are crossing the border. It's not safe, and we shouldn't encourage it like this.
Regarding to this Chicago thing that they're doing, are they charging $1,900 a month for rent for these illegal immigrants, or are they being forced to lower their rent?
Rent is probably not connected. However, you need to consider that the more they expand these issues, you will get people who will demand a cheaper rent, and if you deny them, they'll make the argument that it was discrimination. So not typical, though. I don't think money plays a big role in this. And what they're going to try and stake this on is immigration status just means, like, if you immigrated to this country versus if you're a citizen or not. But of course, it's going to include immigration status in general, which includes incomplete status or, expired, et cetera, et cetera. What can you expect?
The big problem you see
too.
generally is, like, when someone is arrested at the border for illegal immigration, and if they're released in the country, like, immigration court is so messed up that you'll have years and years before you're supposed to come back and appear before a judge. You have no reason to actually return if you're able to set up life somewhere and live basically away from the system. So in some ways, you're potentially hurting landlords who, if someone were to, like, commit a crime and flee, then their building is associated with these negative things. I mean, I don't want to make too many generalizations, but making it so you are making one state saying illegal immigration is okay here, it hurts everyone else around them. It hurts the people of Illinois. It's not an incentive. It doesn't help or protect immigrants. It's just ultimately creating more fires that Illinois is going to have to put out, which means they're going to end up asking the federal government for more assistance. They're already doing that with cities.
The illegal immigrants they allow into their state move to other states. And then, California letting non-citizens in, they then go to Arizona, Colorado, et cetera, and they start putting economic strain in these places, and they're not being tracked properly.
And then they can vote in New York City.
In terms of resources to the government to say tracked, we don't want outright overt surveillance. I mean, the amount of money that is being generated by the economic activity of these immigrants is harder to track, and so we're expending more resources on our public utilities. That's just costing people more money.
Yeah, I think Adrian Norman for Timcast Today just posted an article saying 1 in 4, I'm going to pull it right now, nearly 1 in 4 public school students are the children of illegal immigrants or of immigrants generally. I mean, immigration has a huge impact on our country, and I know there are arguments for it for some people, but illegal immigration is a huge challenge that we are not taking seriously enough. And in fact, we haven't been for years. And I think this should be something that everyone talks about. But instead, it becomes this emotional debate.
Well, we got a bunch of cultural stories, and I'm going to start with the stupidest one. This is from the New York Post. Elon Musk snipes Zuck is a cuck about Meta boss Zuckerberg after rival Twitter app launch. So Threads has cracked 100 million users. I still think it's not that good, and I don't know if it'll actually take over. But Elon Musk called Mark Zuckerberg a cuck. Okay. He then actually went on to call for a literal dick measuring contest between him and Mark Zuckerberg.
And then did Mark respond with, somebody get my microscope?
Is that what he said?
I saw a picture that said that. I don't know if that was doctored or if that was Mark's reply.
I doubt it.
So get my microscope.
Did they include that in the... So, in the 4 days, blah, 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 Zuck is a cuck, Musk tweeted, responding. Then Wendy said, you should go to space to make him mad. And that was it. Some people were appalled by Musk's tweet. I was surprised that, he tweeted that he wanted to have a dick measuring contest. And a bunch of people were like, you forgot to post this from your parody Twitter account. You posted it accidentally on your main. Yeah.
Do you think he runs his parody Twitter account? That's my favorite conspiracy theory. That Elon
that it's
Musk is
him?
behind his own parody account.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Controlled
why not?
opposition,
Do you guys, are you on Threads? Do you guys like it?
No. Yeah.
Maybe Ian can answer
Stinks.
this. Is there
Yeah,
any
it's not
truth to
good.
the idea that they hired a bunch of people from Twitter
that's the
to
lawsuit.
Threads? That's the whole lawsuit?
I can't verify, but yeah. That's what they're
Facebook
getting
denies
sued.
it.
Facebook denied.
They're
And
like, get out of here.
what rights does Elon Musk have if that's the case?
Well, they did that. I don't know, actually. That's a good question. Trade secrets, like if you quit one place, you probably are under some sort of NDA that you can't talk about the code that you wrote at that place. But you might know ways to recreate the system without the exact coding. You might be able to change some of the coding. But that's the problem with proprietary code in general. And companies owning code is when they leave the company, the company doesn't really own the code. It's the people that make the code that own the code. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm a big advocate of freeing it. I'm looking up see if Zuckerberg responded to Elon.
Well, he wanted to have a dick measuring contest.
Yeah, I didn't see
a literal one. I don't see how that could have been from a parody account. Like he actually tweeted that. So this is our current state of discourse. The big thing with Threads is that it's not good, and I don't know what else to say about it. Instagram is just not a place for high level conversations. Mm-hmm. So it's like Facebook is, what is Facebook? A phone book, a directory? Twitter is our news. It's basically like the news networks back in the day. People would go on, debate the news on the news show. If you went to The Simpsons for your news, you're not really getting news. And this is basically what Threads is. Threads is Instagram's an entertainment platform, not a serious political platform. It does have politics on it, but it's not that serious. And so the platform what I think is more likely to happen? Young people on Instagram will switch to Twitter once they start getting more politically active. It's not going to be a switch to Threads or some other stupid app or something.
Do you think the people I know who are like in content creation who don't like Twitter but like Instagram tend to be not political at all? They're, fitness people. They have cookbooks. They do, things outside of this. Do you think that there's any chance that Thread basically becomes a Twitter for those people?
Nope.
No, it'll
What do
just
they have to
die.
talk about?
I don't know, but people like them. People follow their content. I assume it's the same thing with anywhere. They have questions. We're releasing this thing.
If I'm following a guy because he does backflips off of buildings, why do I care when he makes a post with no picture of a backflip and he just says something like "went to Wendy's today"? I'm like, show me a backflip, or otherwise I don't know. I'm not following you. For this stuff.
Instagram's the platform where you'll see a video of him doing the backflip where it says "went to Wendy's today" over top of the image or the video. They don't do just text. See, this Meta Zuckerberg, he's good at like copying other people and compiling stuff. Like Facebook was just like Friendster, more or less. He kind of ripped the concept off MySpace. It was like a developed version of that. And then they bought Instagram. He didn't build that himself. They bought Oculus. I think they had the Oculus come in. Now they have that. Now they're doing this. They basically got the developers from Twitter to trying to recreate Twitter. So, but then, it's not really an argument that he's bad at what he does. It's just not super original. It's kind of lame, but it's functional. It's just not creative. He's not the most Sorry, Mark.
Do you
I like
think
it.
we're market saturated on social media platforms? Because you do this for a living. You must have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Like, at what point is it too many?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm a Luddite. I hate social media, but I feel like every month they're like launching a new platform, and it's really annoying. I'm not on Threads. I'm not really even on Truth. I'm not really even on Getter. The only one I really do, because I think you get the most bang for your buck, is Twitter, because I think that then can also get aggregated or like disseminated on to other platforms. But yeah, I don't think Threads is gonna. I'm not.
Because how could you maintain it unless you really saw like I'm saying, like if there was like Threads only had the mommy bloggers, right, and that was where the mommy bloggers went for Twitter, like maybe there'd be enough engagement there for your niche enclave of content for it to work. But Twitter already dominates this type of media, so how do you? I mean, Gab and other platforms exist, but we have seen that they haven't surpassed Twitter yet, at least. Why would Threads? Because it's already attached to Instagram and people are already there. There's an access. I don't get it, but I'm not a huge social media
They're already
person.
up to their old same censorship tricks of Meta. So it's like, why would you want to go backwards and go on a platform that is certainly not going to let people like us say what we want to say? So you're alienating like half the country right there.
Yeah, at least
At
half the
least,
world.
yeah.
It's how do you talk? You can't talk politics if there's a censorship cloud. I mean, you can't really effectively talk about the possibilities. You can't war game your strategies and talk about what horrible things might happen, because if the company's like, no, you can't even mention that possibility, like then I can't have a conversation.
Yeah. That's why I think it could only exist for people who are non-political, but then do they have enough to talk about on that platform?
Nah, they don't really text. I mean, maybe they do, but not on social media.
I'm
It's
thinking of people
pictures,
who
they're
like
just pictures.
review stuff. Like, I did a review of this. What did you guys like? I just can't imagine it.
You can post a video to Instagram already. You
Yeah.
can post pictures. What is somebody who is dedicated themselves to a visual medium going to do with a written medium? That's why Twitter is news and politics. So all of these liberals and leftists who are like, I'm going to Blue Sky, I'm going to Mastodon, whatever, they can. It's not going to change anything. I would, they say they added 100 million users, and it's like, why? Because you have because you're Instagram and people just got a Threads account?
Yeah.
That, like, come on.
Of their billion people.
Of the people who are already using Instagram, they just clicked a button.
Twitter actually understands this, I think, Elon, and that's why they're going so hard into video now, because the Twitter text is like the rock bottom. You don't want to go that direction. If you have it, you better have it for your network. I'm just kind of surprised YouTube doesn't have a better messaging service. They really dropped the ball, you guys, at Google with Google Plus and all that crap. Just consolidate it into YouTube, make it the best social network. But Twitter's going full on long form videos, subscription models, audio, and that is absolutely the future.
Do you think text will ever come back? Like, is Twitter the space, or
For transmitting data, it's good for like information, but for communication, it's not very effective in my opinion. It has no tone.
But that's true. But it's faster than video. That's why it worked in an era of video. So someone can tweet something like, "I am hungry and would like to have a cheeseburger," and then someone can respond with, "Cheeseburgers are unhealthy. You should consider a different option." And then you can respond with, "Screw off, vegan." A video back and forth is not that easy to do.
But so like if you were in text, you're like, we're going to get food later. That's a good text. But if I'm like, how are you feeling about that in the text? Oh, did I do the wrong thing? That is not a text question. It is insane, inane. What? If I ask you about emotions in text, I've missed. Like if you're like, if you want to tell me what you're going to do, I'm into it. If I want to ask you why, text is not the place for that, in my opinion. It starts to get bogged down with what you think I mean and what I... Yeah.
There's a reason why people aren't recording videos of themselves to Twitter in response to other people, because text is the way to do it.
It takes too long to load up and watch, and then you got to turn the volume up. You can read in silence,
people can't
too,
absorb
in the
video.
middle of the night.
People can read faster than they can watch a video. So people even say they'll listen to Timcast IRL on 2 times speed, which is crazy considering I talk so fast as it is. But they'll do it because they can understand it.
On Spotify, you can do 3 times.
3 times speed. Ooh, boy,
I wonder if there's anybody out
the
there.
whole show done in 30 minutes.
If anybody gets the transcript of this and reads it, the 2-hour show.
Yeah, that would be insane.
That'd be nuts.
It's got a 2-hour show. Is it tens of thousands of words? Every episode is a book.
And then you get to hear the tone too. The tone's like half the battle, if not more. 90% of communication is body language. Is that true?
But so there's that bell curve of, if you're a book or something, playing audio probably makes sense. Short conversations, really annoying to listen to. I'm sorry, I can't stand it. do not send me voice memos. I will press delete instantly. I don't have 2 minutes to listen to your thoughts when I can read the whole thing in 10 seconds. It's just like, I'll look at I'll go to message on my phone and I'll look and it'll show like the waveform. I'm like, delete.
Or just leave a voicemail because then there's at least the like attempted transcription.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't check my voicemail either.
Yeah.
I'll read whatever I get sent and I'll just delete. Text me, dude.
Yeah. Text really did revolutionize the way people communicate instantly. I don't think voice memos can really compete with them.
No, it's.
But
it's
what
really
does that
good
have
for
to do
instant
with
data transfer?
Elon,
For why Threads
here's-
is suffering?
No, why Elon Musk is calling Zuckerberg a cuck.
Because it rhymes.
Well, so are they fighting? That's my
Zuckerberg.
other question. Where's this Coliseum fight that I was promised?
I think in Rome at the Coliseum.
Are they doing it for sure?
I don't know. Lex Friedman's encouraging them not to actually battle, but just to spar and become sparring partners for the good of humanity. Because if they get head trauma, I mean, both
Yeah, I
of them
get
know.
it.
I think it's a duel. You remember when Alexander Hamilton died in that duel?
Winner
We could
gets
have
the-
another big moment
So
like this. This
they
is
could-
part of culture.
They could bet their companies and the winner takes all.
Wow.
Well, talk about
but
consolidation.
then the winner is like, but I don't want
Then
your
they get
company because
Threads.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing about the old duels, it was that, duels used to be legit. People would kill each other. Then it went and became like an honor thing where you wouldn't actually try to kill the other guy. It was about whether or not you'd show up. But it's kind of like, look. And I guess with Hamilton and Burr, Hamilton was like, yeah, and fight off to the side. Like, we get it, we're here. And then Burr was like, screw you, and like actually wanted to kill him. So he agreed to it. And his sacred honor was intact as he died. So, and then the young people were like, this is crazy. Why are you dueling? We should stop this.
That was the last duel in the United States.
I don't think it was the last one. But dueling ultimately started to fade out because young people thought it was barbaric.
My
Yeah.
thoughts on what Elon's doing is this is all publicity. Massive publicity for Twitter and for Meta right now. Both those companies, their valuations are skyrocketing.
None of this makes him look bad, I think. I mean, maybe this is like slightly immature, but ultimately he's staying in everyone's heads. He's still the thing that we're talking about.
Like the two of the most influential billionaires on earth, and they're just having fun and playing around. Like that's
gosh.
a good thing.
I want to talk about this story with Jack White. And the first thing I want to say is it's very strange to me that Variety didn't include Joe Rogan's name here because they had an excellent opportunity for clickbait. Jack White slams disgusting Mark Wahlberg, Mel Gibson, and more for interacting with fascist, racist piece of S, Donald Trump. Okay, here's the post. Official Jack White. He disabled, I think he disabled comments. Anyway, he says, anybody who normalizes or treats this disgusting, fascist, racist con man, disgusting piece of ish, Trump, with any level of respect is also disgusting in my book. That's you, Joe Rogan, you, Mel Gibson, you, Mark Wahlberg, you, Guy Fieri. This is a statement from me, not a discussion, debate, Jack White III. Well, Trump derangement syndrome is back in full swing as we gear up for 2024. How excited are you guys for this?
You would never see this like if Joe Rogan shook Obama's hand. You would never see the reverse of this.
Right.
No one would even bat an eye.
Do you think any of them would be like, Obama talks to conspiracy theorists and misthink a peddler Joe Rogan? Like, do you think there'd any be pushback for Obama? Because I feel like for a while people really doubted Joe Rogan. Let's never forget the COVID era.
Probably not, because pretty much everybody loves Joe Rogan in this political arena, and then everyone else loves Obama. So, and then the press simps for Obama. So I would imagine they wouldn't go hard. There wouldn't be anyone to go hard against them. This is like this Jack White man. Like he's not punk. This is like him thinking he's punk rock when he's 58 and afraid of somebody.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's weird to be like, I'm going to publicly tell you my opinion, but I don't want anyone to comment on it. Like, you should just keep it inside your head then.
What would Jack White do if Trump was there and everyone was meeting him?
you probably
You'd be like,
avoid eye contact.
You guys, you're bigots. Brr. Yeah, okay, dude.
I mean, people did refuse to go to the White House. Didn't we have several like professional sports teams that won whatever? I'm not very good with sports, but that declined to go to the White House, and the press gleefully reported on this over and over again. And then when I think, did the Patriots end up going to the White House after they won the Super Bowl or something? And people were like, "Oh, interesting. Why would they do that? I guess they're going to go meet Trump." Like, it's just a regular thing that athletes do. You guys are the ones making it such a histrionic fit.
It says a lot when people disable comments. And Jack White deleted comments. Then he posted a gray block that allows comments. It's just like, I don't know, man. I'm tired. 8 some odd years of this psychotic Trump derangement syndrome. Like, Jack White, you don't even know anything about politics. You're some dude. What is wrong with you? a MMA commentator met the president, a former president, shook his hand. That's it. It's all. It's like Joe Rogan's like shaking his hand. He's like, "Hey, nice to meet you," and that's it. And so he posts a clip of it being like, "You're disgusting, Joe Rogan."
I mean, the other thing is, like, if he had seen Trump, he would have, like, walked away uncomfortably. Like, he wouldn't have confronted Trump about it. He someone who's acting like this, I don't think has the courage to, like, publicly reprimand this apparently terrible person. So I don't really understand what this person's point is. Like, let everybody like Trump who likes him, and if you don't want to talk to him, don't freak out.
Isn't it interesting that Joe Biden is facing a primary? He's the incumbent.
It's hard to wrap your mind around. It seems crazy to me. I really thought they would have announced that he was not going to run for a second term because he is so clearly unable to operate in a healthy and functional manner.
Yeah, that's part of this like arrest whistleblowers and then let them out later thing. Because like while the person's in power, they want the whistleblower to go away. And then later when they're out of power, they're willing to let them out. But I think that the Bidens are afraid that if they get ousted, there's going to be a lot of like peering into their finances. And that could be very bad for the family.
I just mean in terms of the level of hatred for Donald Trump, this like psychotic fury at him. And at the same time, the indifference and the disinterest in Joe Biden. It's like even the people who hate Donald Trump care more about Donald Trump than any Democrat cares about Joe Biden. To the point where there's actually a predicted market with other people who might win the Democratic primary, despite the fact we don't know if there will be one. And Joe Biden, the incumbent, has announced he's running again. There is still a chance he doesn't. Most people, I think, in politics are probably assuming he's not going to, even though the prediction markets are saying he's going to. It just feels like the system is done.
Yeah, I don't get the Trump stuff hate. Really, like I get like even from that perspective of like he's dangerous. It's not that bad. He was never that bad. He was just kind of annoying. I guess the people that are just like easily swayed get very afraid at the thought of like losing out or
and he was built to be this terrible monster. I mean, the media and his opponents really made Trump this larger than life figure that represents all evil. I mean, it was like the term never Trumper existed for a reason. He was absolutely the epitome of everything you couldn't let happen to the country. I mean, obviously I don't believe that, and I think that's kind of a hysterical position to take, but you know, to Tim's point, there was an NBC poll that said half of all Democrats think Joe Biden is too old to run, yet they still dislike Republicans more. Like none of it makes sense. They don't like their own candidate. They don't believe they don't believe their incumbent.
They only have hate.
Exactly. It's all bitterness.
On the conservative side, on the Republican side, even with libertarians, there's debate over Trump, questions around Trump. Even the libertarians, I love it. We'll bring on like some Mises Caucus guys, and they'll say, no, we're not Trump fans. But they will concede some points and be like, oh, well, you know, I can respect that because they're actually listening and having a reasonable conversation. Republicans, right now, you've got the DeSantis camp. They hate Trump. The Trump camp hates DeSantis. And that's like normal primary banter and bickering and stuff. But Donald Trump, you've got people who love him and support him. People who are like, well, you know, he's the best we can get. People who are slightly indifferent. The Democrats, for the most part, overwhelmingly don't have anything positive to say about any of their candidates. The people who are praising RFK, us. We are the ones praising RFK and he's a Democrat. The Democratic Party and the corporate press despise him. They rag on him all day. Joe Biden is mocked relentlessly, still defended to a certain degree in the corporate press, but no sane human is going outside being like, woo, Joe Biden. But those same Democrat people on the left are screaming how they hate Donald Trump. I just find that very, very interesting with a story like this.
Do you think that he was not co-opted by the Chinese movement? We were talking before the show about what's this party? The United Front. This is cool. This is the first time I've heard about
My favorite
this.
thing to talk about.
Yeah, and so as you're studying the United Front, it's an alliance of groups against. Can you explain the United Front really quick and then maybe?
Sure. I won't go full nerd, but the United Front is basically the Chinese Communist Party's political warfare department. They spend billions of dollars targeting really who's who in the West, whether it's academics, elites, think tankers, politicians, their staff, people even in college all the way down to the high school level, really a pipeline of people who become the most influential decision makers. And Hunter Biden is a perfect example. We were talking before the show, you know, Hunter Biden wasn't really that enterprising in the sense that don't miss the forest for the trees, right? There are a lot of people like Hunter Biden. It's not like Hunter Biden was out looking to make inroads with the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese Communist Party knew exactly who he was, and the avenues whereby the Chinese Communist Party can liaise and get in business and really get Westerners on their payroll, which then 9 times out of 10 translates into whether it's preferred policies or nice think tank papers or nice talking points in the mainstream media. That's how they do it.
And Trump came out very hard against China when he was running. Did the United Front they were not able to get him co-opted, and so they just started printing in the media, hate this guy, until we can get a president that is sympathetic? I mean,
believe it or not, one of the leading groups of the United Front is a group called the China United States Exchange Foundation. They were paying to take Western journalists overseas on trips to China in exchange for, and I quote directly, favorable coverage and to disseminate positive messages. And Donald Trump, along with a bunch of other United Front groups, actually banned them from operating in the United States, effectively sanctioned them, even though they're like cultural groups, but he shut down a lot of these cultural exchange programs. That's like the euphemistic term that they used to describe what they were doing with this group QSEF, same with the Confucius Institutes. So Trump, as much as people mock him for, he doesn't understand, they would always say, Trump makes America look like a fool on the world stage, right? They loved that line. They loved that refrain. His understanding of Chinese Communist Party influence, and a lot of that you can chalk up to the wonderful people who were in there and around him, people like Peter Navarro, who really got Chinese Communist Party infiltration. But for someone who studied this, and my career has been in this, he really attacked them with a level of nuance that you've never seen from anyone. But I will say on what Jack White said, which I do like his music, but it's okay. It throws me back to like 2016, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but I think that sort of gives an interesting insight to the mind of the like typical, Trump derangement syndrome NPC type character. In other words, not that you always see anti-Trump stuff, but what he said, the racist, sexist, fascist, like that's so 2016 playbook. And it's obviously all grandstanding, right? He's like hoping to genuflect and have people say, oh, you're so wonderful, even though he turned the comments off. But it's almost like now that Trump is back in the news cycle, he's running again and he's looking like the strongest candidate to emerge. It's like in their NPC mind, it's like muscle memory, right? It's like, must start attacking Trump again, must start going after him. Oh, what are the words that I've always used to describe him? Fascist, racist, sexist. So in some ways, I think it sort of shows that like Trump is under their skin, always has been. And after all this time, after all the 8 years, all the investigations and Russia collusion hoaxes and everything that they were going after him for, the best that they still have to attack him is that he's a racist, fascist piece of,
homophobic, bigot, xenophobe.
Like,
Did they throw that one?
More creative.
Xenophobe
We're at
takes
least
too long to
better
say.
with our critiques. Like we're so good.
Well, there's real
they have to
critiques.
indict us, right? When we're whistleblowers, like they have to go after us, like with the DOJ. All they say against Trump's like, oh, he's racist.
A racist Nazi. When you were saying the NBC, I think you were talking about NBC poll. I thought you said NPC poll. So if someone could doctor that up, the NPC meme, just change the B
That
for a
would be
P.
even funnier if the actual NPCs were like, he's probably too old. Anyway, so no Republicans.
Let's celebrate some victories.
Yay.
Another story from the Post Millennial. Sound of Freedom is a smashing success, projected to earn over $40 million in opening week. Tremendous. It was an amazing film. I vouch for it. I give it a 10 out of 10. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. The theater was crying. It was a really, really great film, a great thriller. Angel Studios is announcing that, estimates are predicting a massive $40 million at the box office in its opening week. In a press release, head of theatrical distribution for Angel Studios, Brandon Purdy said, as with our July 4th numbers, today's numbers exceed our expectations, and we're going to continue this momentum. Sound of Freedom has taken on a life of its own. Winning.
That's cool.
That's huge.
I loved the way they promoted this movie. I mean, one of the things that I saw in lead up was like, if buy a ticket for someone else because we want to get several million people to the theater to represent all the children who are involved in trafficking. And I thought that was really cool. It was sort of refreshing, and this is not by any means throw shade at the Barbie movie, but Barbie movie has been largely about like very staged press appearances, and it's kind of cool if that's your thing, but also this one had sort of more meaning to it, and I think people are really hungry to feel like they are part of the change in the world.
I actually watched it last night and it was so wonderful, but I went home and I felt like I'd been radicalized. I was like, oh my gosh. So I started looking up stuff, and I love my deleted web pages. So actually, I published a story today. Biden's DOJ, so they have a child sex trafficking website, and not in that sense, like it's their informational page where they talk about their subject areas that they focus on. And in May of 2023, they revised, which keep in mind, weird timing, right? That's like 2 years into the administration. But they actually revised the child sex trafficking portion of the DOJ website. And they, I kid you not, removed the subheadings and multi-paragraph explanations of international sex trafficking of minors, domestic sex trafficking of minors, and child victims of prostitution. And they reworded what exactly they defined child sex trafficking as, taking out a whole blurb where they talk about how it involves like the transportation between two countries. So that made my like conspiratorial mind go like, what the heck?
Your brain just lights up.
If you read the blurbs that they deleted, it's literally talking about how open borders make child sex trafficking a heck of a lot easier. And when I saw that, I was like, that's like imagine you're like some Biden staffer, like your job is like you run the DOJ's website. What would take over you to delete that from the informational webpage about like it's just bizarre.
Why'd they do it?
Because they're trafficking children.
Like in the country?
Maybe. I said maybe.
I'm not saying that, but it
maybe.
I would like an explanation.
What a good tactic to learn. Rather than read the old one and read the new one, you read what was removed. It's like an elimination diet.
Mm-hmm. That's what I do. I do my text comparisons and I see what they take out. And you can they deleted their it was called the China Challenge website, where they described the Chinese Communist Party as like an existential threat to the United States on the first day of the Biden administration. They also took down a webpage profiling all of the atrocities and basically genocide going on against the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. And they literally took China off the list of like adversarial threats, taking on and taking over the United States. So you can tell a lot. And all of this was done the first day of the Biden administration. So like someone is very, very radical who's running their websites. But I just can't believe they took down.
And this film was made 5 years ago, and for some reason they wouldn't put it out. And it was very, very difficult for them to finally do it. And it makes $40 million in its opening week, which is massive for any indie film.
And it's really massive accounting that it made $10 million on the first day.
14.5.
14.5 on the first day. So that's $25 million in the 6 following days, which is huge for an indie film to go from... to increase its, I guess, to make 150% of its opening day over the course of the week. I would have thought that indicates that it got a lot of good publicity, I think, in word of mouth.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are referring other people to the movie, which hopefully will mean it sustains the profit margins for a long time.
It's like a grassroots movie.
What this means is that anti-establishment, anti-woke, libertarian-minded individuals, conservatives, suspected liberals, whatever this group is, actually engaging in the culture war.
Mm-hmm. I know one guy that said he bought a ticket, didn't want to go because he didn't know if he could handle it, but he still wanted to support the movie.
Yeah,
like I don't hear that about a lot of movies.
But I am excited for Barbie.
I am too.
I don't think to shade Barbie.
Pink, so.
No, I don't mean to shade Barbie, but I did think this idea that they were saying like the most important thing to us is that people sit in the theater and see the movie. So if you can buy a ticket for someone else, like if you can help people get this message out there, that's what we care about. And I think that is the part of the culture war that people are really wanting to take part of. It's not to throw shade at Barbie at all. Barbie can do a great, I mean, all the success in the world to Barbie, but I think it is interesting that this movie that, you're right, I mean, it would be hard to watch. It would be hard to see. People are still flocking to see it. They want to know what's going on, and hopefully it's...
Barbie had that scene, they're getting slammed because it shows the lines coming out of China.
The 9-dash line.
The 9-dash lines. There's only 8 in the movie, but it represents China's claim over the South China Sea.
What?
So, and that's in Barbie. And so the movie's getting banned in a bunch of Southeast Asian countries.
It's like it's this whole abstract world map, and it's like this dashed S line. In real life, it's basically like a U. But Barbie is... It makes me wonder, was that intentional? I mean, Barbie hasn't said, or the makers of Barbie, I should say, haven't said if this was like
they want to make money in China.
Right, or...
Now I can't see Barbie.
I almost wonder if they had no idea what they were doing. I think they want to make money in China. I think that's ultimate. But I do like the idea that someone drew the map and was like, I know, I looked up a map and there were some dashes.
If there's any movie that could play the dumb blonde card.
Yeah, it's this. This is their out.
Yeah.
We had no idea what we were doing.
That's actually what they said. They said it's just a fake map that Barbie drew up. Like it's a.
But why did Barbie know about the lines?
Exactly. Like why? yeah, if it's such
Yeah.
a silly cartoonish map, why are those lines there?
And I don't know, Vietnam banned
United
it.
Front.
But
Talk to her.
see, exactly. That's the
So,
only
so
map
we
I
have it. You can see right here.
I don't know if the Philippines was reviewing this, and they were saying maybe some of their lawmakers were suggesting perhaps this scene could be edited out so this map doesn't appear. But I don't know how that one ended
It
up.
may just be, if you look over here on the other parts of the map, there are other dotted lines. It may have been to represent just like traveling, not actually anything. And because there's lines coming out of Asia, like this is not even the shape of Asia. Like, what is this?
No,
Like, it's
it's a
China.
complete abstract map because it's silly. But on the other hand, I do like the idea that someone just was like, map of the world. Didn't think about it at all, and now they've like entered this movie to a huge geopolitical debate.
Yeah, the occult people in the film and movie industry a lot of times are very manipulative with imagery. So they might have been like, this is a travel path, but they happen to make the travel path the cutout that they want to be given to the Chinese authority. That's possible.
And we'll probably never know. I mean, no one's going to come out and explain it.
You have two choices this weekend, America. You can support China by watching Barbie, or you can support America and saving kids by watching Sound of Freedom. Which way?
Oppenheimer as a
Western man.
third choice is not on the table.
Oppenheimer.
Did you see it?
Are people seeing it? Is it good? I don't know.
No,
It's gonna be
guys, I never
3
see any
hours.
movies. Don't look at me.
Oh, yeah. I got to go see Sound of Freedom. I think I might go tomorrow.
Yeah.
Bro, you're going to be crying the whole time.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Dude,
I got to do it, though.
the opening scene is so well done in that movie. What I was saying earlier is like, if everyone here has seen Up, right?
No.
No, you haven't seen Up?
No.
Wow.
Was it like good?
Yeah.
Well, the first
Hannah Claire
the
says it's
first-
good, you
the
know
first
it's
The
15
first sequence is amazing. It's really solid.
the first 15 minutes will leave you bawling your eyes out
Really?
in Up. And then the rest of the movie is kind of like, who cares?
It's like a
to
silly
be
little
honest,
kid's
I don't
movie.
even care. Like,
And
I watched
liked that. I saw it with children though, and was like, solid. I don't have to worry about anything in here. Back in
the first 15 minutes or whatever of Up is one of the best short films ever. And then afterwards, it's silly nonsense I don't care about.
Was it a short movie that they turned into a feature length?
No. It's it's like basically the intro to the film to explain why the movie's happening. I mean, like, I'm going to spoil Up for you because it's been a very,
No,
very
don't
long time.
spoil it.
Let me tell
should
you
see
what
it.
I know of it by not having seen it. It's a guy whose house they're going to repossess, and he's like, no, I'd rather fly away, and he
And
ties
it's
balloons to his house.
just with no words.
That's what Joe Biden's
The story
gonna
of
do.
how he got his house and what led him to. where
It's
he
him
is
as a
now.
little kid meeting a little girl. Then it's a montage with music of them growing up. They long to travel the world. They have a jar. They're saving up money, but then things keep happening. There's a leak in the roof. The car breaks down. So they keep breaking open the savings and spending the savings on things other than their dream trip. And then one day his
BlackRock wants to buy it.
his wife dies. And so he's this old curmudgeon who lives in this house, and now a city sprung up around him. And so that's like the first 10 minutes or whatever. In Sound of Freedom, the first 10 minutes, I won't spoil completely, but the intro sequence, not there. Okay, so there's like the opening credits, and then there's the opening scene. The opening credits has real video of children being snatched by traffickers.
Dang, dude.
It's terrifying. Like, it's horrifying to see how like it's surveillance footage of two little kids like playing basketball outside their house, and a car pulls up and they just grab the kid and throw him in. The other kid starts freaking out, just like that. But the opening sequence, basically, without spoiling anything, just lays out the general concept of what's happening, and it was a weird kind of fear. You watch a horror movie and you're like, oh man, there's gonna be a jump scare or something. You're like scared. You're not really scared. Yo, I was kind of scared watching. I'm like, in the beginning with everything that's going on, I'm feeling like this fear and this dread, this doom, because I know exactly. You watch, you know exactly what's about to happen, and then you watch it happen, and then your fear, anger, and dread becomes like anger and sadness. It's a good movie, man.
I guess sadness is better than fear. So yeah, it's worth seeing.
But it's like a kind of fear where you know where it's going and you're waiting for it to happen, and like, oh man. I recommend it.
Do you feel better equipped to deal with it on the global stage having seen that movie?
Oh, I don't know. I think that movie is going to put it in people's minds, though. And I think a whole lot of people in Hollywood and DC are freaking out right now at how successful this is. So that's your third reason to go see it. The first is because it's a good movie. The second is because we want to build up alternate studios who can compete with Hollywood. And the third reason is to piss off the creepos who are in Hollywood and DC who are fuming that people are starting to call out their creepy grooming, trafficking behavior, and a lot of questions about some prominent individuals and the things they've been up to on certain islands.
I saw it last night like at 6 p.m. on a Sunday. The theater, seriously, entirely packed. I got one of the last 2 seats that they had available, and I didn't really know what I was walking into. Part of me was like, do I need to wear a hat? Like, is it going to be all like war room audience? You know, because we had been promoting, and I was like, oh, I don't have security. Like, no.
They're going to clap for you.
And it was actually amazing because it was such a, I don't usually use the word diverse in a good way, but it was such a diverse audience. Like, it wasn't just Trump support, like they're QAnon crazies. Like, it was normal people, all ages, all walks of life. And you started to hear the conversations like around you. And I was just sort of listening to understand why people were there, which I guess maybe is weird. I'm like listening and eavesdropping, but people were just like, oh, like, yeah, I heard this movie is really good. Like, yeah, one of my friends was talking about, like, it was very just organic. It wasn't like people sitting there like, oh, well, I was reading the latest Q drop and they said I had to, you know what I mean? Like, it was normal. Not that, but it was just like,
it was just word of mouth, people recommending it to each other.
Yeah.
The media keeps trying to frame it as a religion movie. And I was just like
barely.
there's the only thing in it that can any way be attributed to religion is when he says God's children are not for sale. That's it. The rest is literally like a law enforcement drama. There's some heist components, sting components. It's like if you like Law and Order SVU, this is like 100-fold better than Law and Order SVU. But it's like that. It's like a cop going and rescuing kids and stuff like. I want to tell you, I'm gonna wait a little bit because I want to do the spoiler review where I just actually talk about everything. But here's what I think is happening: we go and see it, we do the show, we're like, wow, it was fantastic. Then other people are like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go see it. Now that it's reached this point of the, like, virality, I'm sure it's gonna be sold out all this week, and they may even make more money this week. The news reports coming out saying, smashing success, excellent reviews, $40 million in its opening week. That's gonna lead people to be like, oh man, I should go see this movie, and you should go see it because I regret not seeing Nefarious in theaters. I watched Nefarious on Amazon when it came out, and wow, that was also such a good film. If you haven't seen Nefarious, you should totally watch it. Get it wherever you can get it. It's on Amazon. I don't know if you like Amazon, but Nefarious was awesome. I don't know if you guys watch Nefarious.
No.
Oh, that was a good one.
It was really interesting. And Steve Deef was on the show, and he was, because he wrote the book, and he was talking about it, and he's so nice and so well spoken, and I was like, oh cool, this movie. It's crazy to think this is the creation, and again, I love anything that makes you think, and I think that's why this idea of telling the story of human trafficking through a movie is important, because people need to understand what the consequences are. And I think that some of the themes that come up in Nefarious are the same way. Like, your brain needs something to do with itself. It needs to think.
Can we spoil Nefarious now? It's been a while for Nefarious, right?
Yeah, it's been like at least 6 months.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll do only.
What's the rule on spoiling things? Is there like a time limit?
Well, because if we're encouraging,
because I still never watched Titanic, but I basically know what happened.
I was just reading about Titanic.
You can spoil
That's what
that.
I was looking at.
But if I'm trying to convince people to go watch a movie, I don't want to spoil it. I want to be like, you gotta go see it. So you definitely should watch Nefarious too. You can watch that one tonight. But I'll spoil it a little bit. When my favorite part of the movie, like, and this is a key component, and it's like right in the beginning. So I'm not going to spoil anything serious. The murderer is like, by the end of tonight, you'll have committed 3 murders, and like this is it's a movie where they talk. It's like a handful of dudes talking for like an hour and a half
in one room. The whole movie happens in basically
90% one room in a prison with some stuff in and outside of it. And it's just like, I'll put it this way. The guy says, by the end of the night, you'll have committed 3 murders to a doctor, to like a psychiatrist. And then basically they talk through everything, and you got to see it because it's really, really good. I thought it was fantastic. And it's funny because I'm really jaded on movies. I have a subscription to Shudder. I can't watch half those movies anymore. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's all jump scares. Mm-hmm. It's all like, I swear 80% of horror movies is like a young woman moves into a new house and then a ghost is there. And it's like, okay. A child uncovers object is haunted. And I'm like, sure, whatever.
There's nothing new.
I watch so much stuff on 2 times speed. I like to even push it to 2.5 times speed that it's actually hard for my brain to watch movies now because it's so slow, which I know is like so bad. So like autistic. But yeah, so Sound of Freedom is the first movie that I've watched in like years.
What prompted you to go see it?
Because it wasn't just, I honestly also think movies are sort of a waste of time. Like, I know we're getting into my personal, but I don't know. I would just rather do something with my body. I'd rather go for a walk or like run
I have a hard
story.
time sitting still for movies.
Yeah, I'm also.
It's hard.
I'm like fidgeting in the chair.
Yeah, you and me both. We're just sitting over here rocking. It's easier to watch movies for me at home when you're like doing something else, like embroidering or folding laundry or like whatever
I can't
else.
watch stuff on regular speed now. I have to watch it on 2x speed.
Do you watch movies on 2x speed?
So most streaming platforms don't really cater to that, and also I feel like that would just be. Also, how do you watch a movie with someone? You're like, hey, would you mind if we Netflix and chill on 2x speed?
Yeah. Or do you, final question.
That would be really bad.
Do you ever watch multiple movies at the same time just to...
When I was watching a lot of opposition research, so like old speeches from Biden and Biden appointees and like people in the Hunter Biden hard drive orbit, I actually did master that act. And I texted my boss at the time and was like, well, I'm concurrently watching these 3 and he's like, how are you doing? And honestly, I don't even know how it's possible, but you can, if you're just listening for certain words.
If you're
can't
searching
do
for
it.
something, and that's I think so hard with like a lot of movies. I find myself just preempting how the plot is going to go, so it's not fun because I already
movies
feel
on 2x speed together.
yeah, you and I would be fine, but no, we'll just sit there, walk around the room 2x speed,
Doing
guessing the
100
plot.
different
Like it's totally. But I think that's one of the things I loved about Nefarious was that it was just a format I was not expecting for a movie, and you're not really sure what's going to happen next, as opposed to what Tim's talking about with horror movies in particular. There's only so many combinations of like the ghost can come from the wall or the floor. Like
Yeah.
at some point you run out.
Yeah, it's like the music box was haunted. The next movie is like a single mother moves into a home and the cupboard is haunted. And it's just like, I get it.
I'm the worst because like at the beginning of TV shows, I'll be like, oh, they're gonna fall in love. They're enemies right now, but they're gonna fall in love, and like no one likes to watch anything with me because it's the whole time I'm just figuring out who's gonna end up together.
I want to jump to this segment here, this story. Once again, another story from the Post Millennial. Joe Rogan and Elon Musk call out MSNBC for suggesting being healthy and in shape is far right. I love it. This is what winning looks like. Okay, we've had a whole bunch of culture war victory segments today. Joe Rogan tweets in response to MSNBC, who said, the far right's obsession with fitness is going digital. He said being healthy is, quote, far right, holy F. Patrick Bet David with the best response says, does that hold the inverse being true that the left's obsession with being fat is going digital? But this isn't, so this is really funny because if you guys know who the Krasensteins are, we've had them on the show. They're liberal pundits. Brian I think it was Brian. He posted a video of himself working out and looking pretty fit. You know, good for him.
Fitness to far right pipeline.
But that's what I said. I said, careful, Brian. You keep it up, you're going to become far right. And a bunch of leftists and liberals started attacking me for it. And I was like, dude, I'm kidding. Like, I'm joking. I interacted with the guy positively on Twitter. I recently shouted him out. He said, let's not fight. Let's he said, not everybody's crazy and extreme. You know, we just see the world differently. I respect it. And I was like, all joking aside, keep it up, bro, looking good. And the funny thing now is even he responded to this being like, what? Like, being in shape is far right? And I'm like, I warned you. Like, I told you, dude. They will call you right wing if you're into fitness. That's how psychotic the cult is. Yo, they legit want you unhealthy, unhappy, eating bugs, and living in a pod.
Yeah.
I can understand if people are getting in shape because they feel like they're going to get attacked, that it might be like a form of like a result of being radicalized. Like I'm so afraid for my life now. I've got to defend myself. But if you just want to get healthy and muscular so you can carry your kids around, I mean, come on.
But isn't this like the left all the time? They're saying you're gonna misgender me. You're gonna have microaggressions for me. Like, wouldn't that mean that they should be the ones getting in shape to defend themselves?
So check it out. Here's the tweet that everyone's responding to. Posted July 10th, 2023, right? Here's the story written March 22nd, 2022. MSNBC knows that they are sparking controversy. Have you guys ever seen those videos? There's a couple. Like a woman will have a counter and she'll go like, okay, here's what we're going to do. And then she'll take a bag, like an industrial bag of nacho cheese and just dump it on the counter. And then she'll take a bunch of chips and pour all over the cheese and then start mixing it with her hands. And you're like, what is she doing?
You like hate watch it. So
exactly. They're not real tips. I watched one where it's like, she pours like vinegar into a pan, then pours cream and puts an egg in the middle. And she's like, trust me. And I'm like, no, it's intended to trick you into watching for a long time so they make money. That's what MSNBC is doing. That's what the left cult is.
Well, and in particular, it's sparking it on Twitter. MSNBC knows that people, the algorithm will respond to its tweet getting a lot of engagement, and engagement doesn't have to be positive. It doesn't have to be a bunch of people saying, "Oh, we love, great story, good reporting." People arguing in the comments makes it look like a lot of people are interacting with the post, which technically they are, although they are screaming at one another. That's the same thing with these food videos where it's like, what is she doing? Is this a joke? All of the debate makes the video seem popular to the algorithm.
I'm still taken aback that this is a year-old story that they're sending viral right now.
Arnold has chimed in. He says, fitness is not political, right or left. All of us can benefit from the lessons of progressive resistance training, creating a vision goal, building a routine, doing the reps, learning to love failure. The list goes on. If you don't know where to start, Arnold's Pump Club. See, I can respect it. Everybody's basically being like, dude, Bridget Fedesi says, the only way to prove you're not a Nazi is to get fat. Apparently, that's the only way. Look at this. It's amazing. These are all the responses of everyone just mocking MSNBC.
Yep, here's Abby Libby on Twitter saying, someone please inform MSNBC I'm about to do a little far-right extremism, diving into the lap pool to go exercise.
We should just call exercising far-right extremism.
Mark Lobliner
You guys
falling
want to
off
go
the
engage in
far-right.
some far-right extremism at the gym tomorrow?
But then they'll
Yeah,
probably strike down gym classes from schools because after all the years of being like, kids need exercise, they'll be like, we can't indoctrinate children to be conservative.
There's got to be more to this story. Maybe we.
Here's more to the story.
Thanks.
NewsGuard rates MSNBC.com 57 out of 100. Proceed with caution. This website generally fails to maintain basic standards of accuracy and accountability.
Wow.
Womp.
Hence tweeting out a year-old story. They're like, we don't care.
That's the old guard, man.
Can you
they just
NewsGuard fact check NewsGuard?
yeah.
Is that even
what's-
possible?
I don't. Yeah, who?
I mean,
fact-checks
there's
the
they're
facts
full of
check?
it.
Fact checkers.
Here's Fox News,
Tim does.
69.5 out of 100. Fox News has more credibility, according to NewsGuard, than MSNBC does. Uh-oh, I can hear everyone's liberal aunt screeching and saying, that's not true. NewsGuard is far right. Okay, lady.
No, lady.
Go back
Yeah.
to the gym.
Go back to the gym. They don't go
Are
to the
you
gym.
trying
though.
to convert her? Are you trying to indoctrinate her with
I'm a
extremism?
Pilates fan, so
But I do think that there's an obvious correlation between working out, being fit, and being conservative.
Yeah, I think so too.
You're going to, like, two things. One, someone who's willing to work out clearly sees the benefits of hard work for long-term gains over short-term gains. So short-term, you're going to be tired, you're going to be sweaty. I think working out really does feel fantastic, though. But long-term, you feel like, a bolt of lightning. You feel fantastic. Somebody who feels that way probably already understands a lot of basic conservative concepts, but then there's also the correlation between testosterone, aggression, and being more conservative. You're going to be more assertive. You're going to be more confident. You're going to feel better about yourself. Working out will likely have you end up being more, quote unquote, far right. Mm-hmm. But if this were true, just like every Nazi would be jacked. And like the reality is whenever you see like actual people waving Nazi flags, they're like very heavy or very gaunt and frail looking, like not very healthy looking individuals. That's the weirdest thing too. It's like, why did MSNBC try to make this argument in the first place? Are they trying to convince? Look at this picture. Can we just look at it's okay. It's a bunch of Nazis doing the Roman salute, and then there's a guy a flexing arm.
What's the black?
They're covering
Straps.
up.
Oh.
I don't know, trying to cut because
It's artsy.
yeah, sure.
Edgy.
Hyper masculinity have always been central to the far right.
What?
How are these people simultaneously arguing that conservatives are like chuds,
No.
but also that they're super jacked and ripped?
Hyper masculinity was a big part of Mussolini's fascist thing. He wanted to make the Italian river masculine, so he changed the gender of the word of the name. And he was big on like the fatherland and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that working out in general makes you a fascist.
Or-
just because he was masculine.
Yeah, or what if masculinity includes taking responsibility, thinking long term? Like, those don't have to be negative qualities no matter what mainstream media thinks, right? There can be positive qualities of masculinity that result in someone wanting to make sure they maintain a high level of physical strength and health. Like, they have just decided these things are bad, and they want to use phrases that make you scared of them, right? That's why they put an image of, Nazis on screen to be like, you don't want to be hyper masculine. That's bad.
Hyper masculine. So like what masculinity is like, I guess you get too much testosterone, you stop feeling. Is that the problem with masculinity? You lose touch with your emotions because you're in touch with like what you grab in front of you.
But is there any indication of that?
I don't know.
I
What's
feel like
the
that's not
fear?
true.
I don't know. What is your experience with testosterone? Have you gone through T levels, high testosterone, low testosterone in your life?
Well, I'm bald, so apparently that means I have a lot of testosterone.
You do
I guess.
have a lot?
I don't know.
You're pretty driven.
I exercise a lot. I skate a lot, and I eat a lot of beef. I didn't used to eat a lot of beef. That's only recently. I've been eating cheeseburgers like nonstop for some reason. Don't ask me why. It's like smash burgers.
They're
Just
going to say burgers, far right extremism.
yeah. No, but I typically would eat a lot of chicken and fish most of my life, and actually don't like eating a lot of beef because I usually would get sick. Actually, I was getting pretty sick. 'Cause I too much. Oh man, for dinner we made smash burgers, but we fried them in bacon grease. And I'm like, it's the most delicious thing I've ever had. And then I was like, oh, my stomach hurts. So maybe I shouldn't do that again.
Your arteries just
Anyway,
close up.
anyway, my point is, I've been exercising. I've been skating literally my whole life. So there's two things that come with this. Skateboarding is I guess considered a high risk, high impact sport. Jumping off buildings, jumping downstairs. It's an adrenaline rush nonstop. It's not like active conflict or anything, but a lot of people told me it's unsurprising that I got involved in urban conflict reporting stuff. Because when you're skateboarding, you're looking at something that's terrifying and dangerous, and you're going for it every time, and it's giving you that adrenaline rush. So you are desensitized to that shock, and then you're like, oh, I can go and handle this. I'm not going to get hurt.
Well,
but the physical ability, the physical activity of it, I would be just before Occupy Wall Street, for instance, I would skate 8 hours a day, every single day with like 1 or 2 days off per week, and so I was consuming thousands of calories per day, like insane amounts of calories to try and keep up. And if I didn't, I would pass out. Like some days I would just eat a couple thousand calories and I would just be like, I'll just chill today and maybe skate tomorrow because I can't do it. And then there would be days where I was just like, I was shedding weight really, really. Like this period where I was in Virginia, I was in Newport News and I was skating at a park called Anti-Gravity. I was skating so often, I lost like 10 pounds in a couple weeks, just like, and but that exercise builds muscle, increases your testosterone levels. You're going to be a certain kind of person.
Yeah. Also, probably when you got into skateboarding, you were like, I don't know how old you were, but like, you probably were, okay, so you're a teenager. Boys going through puberty have obviously an increase in testosterone, and it's linked to an increase in risk-taking behavior. So when your brain was forming, you learned how to take calculated risk physically. I don't think that these traits of masculinity and testosterone don't have to be negative.
Yeah. I think that they're conflating misogyny with masculinity because
I think that's on purpose, though.
Yeah,
it could be because like the Andrew Tate stuff, he said some stuff that was misogynist. I think like he's going to get some guys, trick them, get fake women, guys that pretend like they're women to chat with dudes to get their money, like using women as like an object. That's a bit misogynist. But he's also very masculine. Like he works out, he eats healthy, he's about motivation. So you've got to strip away the misogynist crap from the hyper-masculine stuff or the masculine stuff. And working out is definitely more of a masculine trait. Has nothing about it is misogynistic in my opinion.
No, I don't think it has to be. And I think part of it too is men in particular are visually oriented, right? So it's one of the reasons, it's one of the great differences between men and women. So for men, obviously seeing another fit man makes you think, oh, okay, this guy is conveying strength to me for a lot of different reasons. But also, if you feel strong, if you feel good, you feel healthy, you are going to convey confidence. Like there are lots of benefits to working out emotionally, psychologically, and physically. And the fact that we are treating them like to pursue it is actually admitting on some level that you're an extremist. Like that's terrible. We should encourage people to live healthy lives.
Well, I've got good news for fans of the show. We're putting out a new music video soon, but it may be a month or two, as in soon. And the reason the song is done, we need to film the video, and we could just film a video over a couple days, but instead we're going to be doing something much cooler than that, and that is Ian. The story centers around a guy who is like devolving. He is withering away. So throughout the course of the video, he's getting smaller, thinner, and frailer. And so what we're doing is Ian is going to film the final scene now. And then we're going to get him jacked with a very serious training regimen and massive amount of protein. And then he's going to film scene 1. So in the video, it actually goes in reverse order. Like in the first scene, you'll see Ian looking fit, kind of, I don't want to say jacked or ripped or anything. The idea is just to get Ian up 20 pounds of muscle or something like that. And then by the end of it, Ian's looking as he does now.
It's so wild to consider doing a body change for a movie or role. I've fantasized about it for 20 years. Oh, what if I worked with a production company that paid me to get strong? Like, that's what it's all about in Hollywood when you land that
We got
role.
a trainer.
Yep, we have a trainer tomorrow. I'm meeting with Brandon. And this last week, I started working out about a week ago. I started doing 100 push-ups a day and going for a mile on the exercise bike. And then I stopped because I was like, okay, we got to film this first scene. And I've been just atrophying. And it's like my like.
Did you feel better when you were doing it?
So much, but almost like I'm afraid of myself. Like the way I get aggressive, like physically, not aggressive, like not. But that's the word. The word is aggressive, I guess. But it's not like dangerously aggressive.
So this is
like,
this
Do you just have
like,
more energy? Is it aggressive, or are you just
It's
like
less-
more alert?
more like less nervous energy, more stabilized
You're
energy.
dialed
Or
in.
Yeah, that doesn't have to be
So,
aggression. That sounds good.
I bring it up for fans of the show because all of this high protein, high fat, high training diet, Ian's going to be like 20 pounds of muscle. His shirts are going to be tight, and he's going to become extremely conservative. He's going to be far right. Him and Seamus are going to be high-fiving about religion.
I got rid of all my large T-shirts. I might have to own medium and smalls now, so I might have to buy some new.
So really,
T-shirts.
we're just using this music video to test MSNBC's article. We're gonna prove it. If you become a far right extremist over the course of filming,
Yeah, then we'll know.
we'll know they were right. We
gotta
all
get
owe them
Seamus.
apologies.
Just
Seamus
imagine,
gotta get
like-
ripped, dude. He's gonna be so excited.
Just Ian all massive, sitting there in a tank top, being like, "Thanks for watching the show."
I'll be doing a lot
guys."
more T-shirts on the show. What were you saying?
Are far right women who work out also masculine? Like, is that the logic train there too?
They don't
Probably.
care about women. We're just
I know, I was like,
anti-man
wait,
at
what?
MSNBC.
Yeah.
I wonder
was
if it's
written by a woman.
Women that learn how to cook are
Yeah, why-
hyper far right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the kind
Women who wear dresses, hyper far right.
Yeah.
I think that this is like about guys that want to put women in the kitchen barefoot, like that masculine
With
and
ripped arms.
misogynist. But that's
I mean,
misogynist
honestly,
with their
yeah.
ripped bodies.
What if that's where she
Sounds
wants to
good
be?
to me.
What if that means he's just like getting healthy so he can support her family and she can stay at home? Like, that sounds nice to me.
Yeah,
I
sign
get the
me up.
idea of like someone being domineering is wrong. Sure, I get that. But like, I think part of this is just the mainstream's anti-gender norms agenda, right? Like, they don't like the idea that a man would want to be strong and classically masculine because that must mean that he doesn't believe in the values we believe in, because nothing means anything and there's no gender.
I view it as the domestication of humans, because I think about how dogs came to be. Wolves would scavenge. The wolves that got close to the human camps were more likely to survive because there was more refuse to scavenge. The humans that were less likely to fight off or scare off the wolves were more likely to survive because the wolves marking territory kept other larger predators away. And then over thousands of years, the closer a wolf could get to the humans, the more the human would tolerate, the higher likelihood of survival there was, till eventually wolves would be walking through the camps and they'd just be like, oh, we don't care. Till eventually wolves became proto-dogs and then actually started hunting with humans. And then when humans realized, hey, like, these wolves are tracking down an elk, and then they'd run with the wolves, then they'd use a spear to take the game down. The wolves couldn't. They all got to eat better, right? That's how dogs, they believe, came to be. Ultimately, though, what dogs are? Permanent wolf cubs. Because the wolves that were aggressive would be killed or chased out by humans. The wolves that were playful, happy, and loving were protected by humans. So the wolves that survived became dogs. Doofy, lovey, all happy. Whereas wolves are like masculine and aggressive, like, back off, man. This deer is mine.
far right.
Dogs are like, I got a deer for you. Can I have some? And so what we're seeing now with all of this don't work out, be fat, be lazy, is masculinity is bad. Being fit is far right. Don't do those things. They don't want a manly man who is confident, collected, and cool, and capable of taking down game and living on his own terms. They want sad, pathetic, doughy, dependent men. They want people to be permanent children, like how dogs got domesticated.
You think that's like the technocrats, the ones that want to put us in pods and
It's
control
the reptoids,
internet?
bro. It's all the lizard
The
people
reptoids.
underneath Denver Airport. I'm kidding.
That's what I meant.
I think it may just be an emergent phenomenon. I don't think anyone's actually intentionally doing it. I think it's one of the things I think we see happening with words, terminology, opinion is that women dominate journalism and writing fields, and so you're getting this very feminine perspective on everything.
Sucks.
And so so
I
naturally,
would argue a feminist perspective, not feminine, but
yeah, feminist. because it's not moms who are writing news articles. It's typically unmarried women working jobs who are writing it. So it's a hyper feminist spinster view of the world that we're getting through all of this media. So they don't need no men. Meanwhile, actual working moms and working dads who are very happy with the way things are and love having a family, and women who want to be moms, they're less likely to be represented in the media spaces.
Going conspiratorial here, but I bet like the lady who wrote this, her boyfriend probably like broke up with her, and he probably just gone into like working out and been going to the
left
gym.
her for a gym check, and she's like,
And
so mad.
They're far right. He could never reject me. It was the gym.
Yeah, the gym corrupted him. No, I think is something to that. I mean, I think of the concept of, like Yelp or any review site. If you're happy with something, you're probably not going to leave a good review. Maybe you are, and I hope you do if that's your habit. But most people are willing to act when they have a negative review, when they don't want to say something good. So when you have these channels where you can critique things, it is tempting to always be like, well, this is bad, and here's something you should fear, and here's this other thing that's going to corrupt you, and working out makes you terrible. Like, it's just this very bitter culture that we see emerging, which is ultimately eating away at people's sense of self and joy.
I noticed that, and I decided to kind of try to counter that. At some, like on Twitter, I had a great flight with Delta, and I tweeted it out. Best flight I've had experience in my life. Delta, thank you. Everybody was awesome.
But for every one
people
of
were
yours, I feel
people were like, I thought that if that wasn't you, Ian, I would have thought that was fake. I would have thought you were paid shill, but I believe you because it's you, because you have. Sorry,
No, I just want to point out before
good.
the super chats. As for this woman who wrote this article, Cynthia Miller Idris, she's married.
Oh,
And she
Was she
hyphenated.
married
And she
at the
hyphenated.
time?
Is
That's
her
all you need
husband
to
Rick?
know.
that's super common for journalism, though, I think.
Cynthia.
They got married a very, very long time ago.
Okay.
Who's
Like
her husband?
it's like when you
Okay,
search.
then maybe it wasn't a fair.
When you Google search the writer, it pops right up.
I like your story better.
I think I'm right.
She was a professor. Wait, what is it?
She was a gym instructor.
She was a doctoral candidate in sociology at a university, and she hyphenated.
I feel like we should read the article at some point or part of it because I don't
I want to
wanna-
read her thesis now.
Oh, I mean, like-
what's
I don't
up?
want to do it dirty.
It's don't worry, you're not. It talks about neo-Nazi blogger Andrew Anglin advising his followers that fat people should be required to commit to losing weight. Like, come on, we get it. She goes there, and at the very end, she's like, "Well, fitness, of course, is a staple hobby for everybody," and blah 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 blah. blah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, we get it, dude.
I see.
For those of us working to find better pathways to reach at-risk youth, understanding the ways that far-right groups recruit and socialize youth in ways that go well beyond rhetoric and ideas is crucial. It's so crazy if you're
so-
like,
What
look,
the heck?
young friend, your life will be better if you are in shape and you're eating healthy. And they're like, he's trying to indoctrinate the kid. I'll be like, I hope so. I hope I can indoctrinate all of the children into eating right and being fit and healthy and living good,
Michelle
moral lives.
Obama crazy person.
Oh, I know, right?
Let's move.
The original extremist Michelle Obama trying to get the kids to eat healthy. No, I think this is the thing, though. At some point, it's going to be like they never want you to be separated from your device. It's actually hard to be constantly scrolling Twitter if you're working out, right? Like you have to step away for the moment. And what if on some level this is saying, when you are unhooked, I don't mean to be too much of a conspiratorial, you are not listening to us. And so in that ends, like with children, they could either be after school to what? Turn on the TV and sit down, or they could go play on their local soccer team. And kids who are active are healthier and happier, and the kids that are raised on TV are more dependent on the media. Well, the media needs you to be dependent because that's how they make all their revenue. I mean, ultimately, they are just saying when you are not plugged in, you are not getting the information we think we need. And that's a complete editorial take on my part, but I think it's worth noting that like they could easily be saying like people who spend time in the sun become extremists because of no specific reason. It's just some random observation we think we have.
We're going to go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and head over to timcast.com, click join us. That members-only show will be coming up in about 20 minutes, where you as members even get a chance to call into the show. You can submit questions, and then we do about 4 or 5 every night, and you will actually be on the show talking to all of us. So become a member, join up. It's good fun. Let's read what y'all got to say. I'm not your buddy guy says, and I got to point out, I'm not your buddy guy always has the first super chat.
That's
just
awesome.
Very punctual. Thank you, sir. Says, I just got to say, what kind of sick, depraved mind would attack something that spotlights the sexual abuse and trafficking of children? To those who did, please ask yourself, are we the baddies? Yo, they are. They know it.
They're comfortable with that.
They lied about an island where a wealthy guy was trafficking minors and abusing them, and powerful elites were abusing them. Can we just point out, like, real quick that like Prince Andrew and the photographs that emerged? Like, come on, Ghislaine Maxwell's in prison for these things, and no client list. Yeah, right. And then the media comes out, and it's real simple. People with power and money who are evil, disgusting child abusers pay good money to make sure it never sees the light of day.
God, that is so gross if that was real. I think it might be. It's so
What do you mean,
gross.
if?
My whole life, that like just
Wait,
like,
wait,
that
what do you
dark
mean? Epstein
possibility.
got arrested.
I know.
He had the island. We know.
To
It is
think
a
that that's
fact.
like an organized criminal racket that's manipulating the media. Like how?
Dude,
disgusting.
It's just crazy how, like, Alex Jones has been talking about it for a while, and they're like, it's crazy conspiracy stuff. And then we get that expose. We get the leak from ABC about Virginia Giuffre with Amy Robach stuff, which ultimately Epstein gets arrested. Ghislaine Maxwell gets convicted. Photos of Prince Andrew emerge.
Dude, for me,
It's like everybody now is like, yeah, that happened.
For me, it's the drinking blood. They say that they drink blood of kids. If that turns out
Wow.
that is freaking real, I'm not gonna lose it because I already lost it. But
I don't
I'm
know
just
about all
waiting
that.
for the other
Look,
shoe to drop on that one.
I'm going to tell you this. The reason why I think they say stuff like they're drinking blood is so that regular people won't
like,
believe it.
It's too far. Yeah.
Right. So if you said something like there are powerful pedophiles trafficking children, it's probably like, well, I mean, yeah, we know about what goes on in some of these other countries. So what happens is, this is what we saw with a very prominent conspiracy theory pertaining to children and a pizza restaurant. All of a sudden, these crazy conspiracies emerge about a basement and about this other stuff that's clearly false. So what happens is you start seeing these emails come out, and they say stuff like, would it be more fun playing dominoes on pizza or pasta? And then what could that be about? Obvious. Drugs. There's code names for drugs all the time. These were high profile political individuals emailing each other, and they were probably saying, like, hey, if we're going to go party, should it be crack or should it be heroin or something?
Yeah.
Like whatever the code
Whatever
was.
drugs.
In
MDMA
order to
or
get
coke.
people off the trail, a wild, insane conspiracy comes out that says there's a sub basement where children are being trafficked, and these things mean kids. Now, all of a sudden, the decentralized network of individuals on the internet who are tracking down what this could be go in the wrong direction. So when they come out and they're like, did you know that they're kidnapping kids and drinking their blood? You tell that to the average person and go, shut up. You say adrenochrome, they're going to go, shut up. If you told people that for a fact, we have known for a long time that there are creepy sex hotels and child trafficking going on, they're like, well, duh. And we're trying to stop it. And then if you said there are high profile wealthy individuals who are involved in it, they'll say, like who? You got to prove that, man. That's a bold claim. But that's something someone's really, they're willing to listen to. If you come out and say, like, Epstein's got this flight log, they call it Elite Express, powerful individuals are flying to this island, there are underage girls there, people are like, wow, that's a bold claim to make about a lot of these people. Do you have proof? Then you add in, and they're drinking their blood because they're doing rituals to say, okay, dude, you've lost me.
Yeah,
Go
I think
have a nice day.
Transfusions are probably way more. I mean, I know that healthy people hooked up to IVs and will get transfusions like in Silicon Valley, like adults with adults. Like,
Yeah, I forgot what it's called. We talked about it before. Blood replacement therapy.
Stuff
something
like
Yeah,
that.
there was that guy who spent all the money to be young, and then
yeah.
his dad is using his blood to stay
Is that
young.
what he's doing?
Yeah, and then he's
Wow.
using his son's blood, and I am not a medical
But
scientist. I don't know.
I'm not saying they're not doing it. I'm just saying, I always tell people of the wildest conspiracy theories, hey, just start from step one, right? Like don't
Microdose.
Yeah, like don't.
Ease into it.
If you think it's true, you're not helping yourself by asserting something you've not yet proven beyond a reasonable doubt. So why don't we start and say, hey, we have probable cause for an investigation because Epstein has been accused of this thing and convicted, and he's still operating this plane. Fair place to start. Hey, ultimately he gets arrested. Now, as for everything else, we'll keep the investigation, we'll keep the pressure on, but good luck there because powerful people are protecting those sickos. Anyway, let's read some more. I'm Not Your Buddy Guy continues, says, I also think it's fair to say the Biden administration has crossed the Rubicon. I'd argue it happened in 2020, and there is no going back as they forge ahead.
I had a feeling like that on July 4th when I saw Hunter all tweaking out, allegedly, behind them on stage. I was like, did we just witness the dark evolution of Joe Biden and his family? Like that, it was just so corrupt, so viscerally corrupt that he had Hunter flaunting it in front of all of our faces. And then they arrest this whistleblower like within a week.
On top of the state dinner where they had him running around saying hi, rubbing shoulders with everyone. I think was it like the day after he allegedly got indicted or arrested for the tax fraud. It's so in your face. But that's the point.
I stand by. They don't feel like the consequences matter to them. They feel like they
don't. They've
untouchable.
gotten
and
away
they are
with it.
proving it every single day.
Imagine if they get away with this, like what they're going to do after his presidency ends, like who they're going to grift and sell out to. That's why we have to win this battle. That's why it's so important.
I still think, though, with the clear demise of Joe Biden, there is a certain level of like who is going to harness power, because now Hunter Biden is he's almost too high profile and too obvious a target. I don't know who in their circle is going to inherit the power. Is all I think.
They'll get all that Ukraine money
back
somehow.
All right. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, righty influencers lying about broken brain sniffing and everyone knowing that they're lying discredits us non-cult. It helps not the mission when they blatantly lie. They need to be called out. I think Raymond, you're referring to the DeSantis thing. We didn't get into too much detail, but DeSantis has a quote where he says it was under Donald Trump that these intelligence agencies, the FBI, et cetera, were colluding with big tech to censor Americans, and Trump should have fired them. The Hill reported DeSantis claims the Trump administration colluded with big tech, which then gets translated by Trump supporters into, quote, Trump colluded against himself or something like that. A gross mischaracterization. You can argue that Trump did not know it was happening. And so, DeSantis shouldn't have said that because, of course, they should have been fired. But how was Trump supposed to know? My argument is actually Trump should have known. We had a White House summit about this. We all came, a bunch of people went to the White House to meet with Trump and a bunch of other influential individuals in government to tell them censorship was a very serious problem and it was going to prevent him from winning again. And look, you can argue it was to benefit his political campaign, sure, but the point was we want everyone the ability to speak. The fact that anyone would be censored, and I pointed this out there too. I said, hey, look, there are anti-war leftists that are getting censored as well. There are accounts like Occupy Wall Street accounts that had been censored. We should make sure all of it's done away with and not just be hyper-partisan. And people there agreed. So Donald Trump should have known to investigate this, to get the DOJ or someone looking into it. He didn't do it. So I agree with Ron DeSantis mostly on this point, and I think there's a lot of Trump supporters coming out and they're mischaracterizing what he said. There's no point. Like, you're not doing yourself any favors. Anyway, let's read some more. What do we got? Drek Noviske says, please watch Sound of Freedom. May God bless you. Love you, Tim. And the hot lady there, Hannah's hot too. Well, okay, there you go. The theater by us had it listed as Sounds of Freedom. Oh, plural.
Do you think that's intentional? Or do you think they really just don't know?
Maybe they just don't know.
I'm so paranoid that I'm like, are they doing it on purpose so people can't find it?
I want to point out, Sound of Freedom was in about, I think, 55 to 60% of the theaters that Indiana Jones was in. And so, well, but this is normal. Not every movie plays in every single theater. A big release like Indiana Jones, it's going to be in every theater. Every major theater. Sound of Freedom was only able to get in, I think, 2,600 theaters. If there were people messaging us saying, I really want to go see it, but it's not playing near me. Yup. Imagine how much more money it would have made if it was in more theaters. Gosh. I think this movie is going to shatter 100 million. I think it's likely that this week is when the word of mouth wave hits. And now people are going to you're going to see it in the news. 40 million, Rotten Tomatoes score 90s, or whatever. The reviews are really good. Even the actual reviewers who are corporate press, they're actually saying nice things about it. Variety wrote some nice things about it. The people screaming about it are like leftist cult member websites and political sites. But the actual movie reviewers are like, it's okay to good. I was reading a review from Roger Ebert. They gave it 2 stars. And I'm like, what is it, 2 out of 4 or something like that? Is 4 their limit? I don't know. And I'm like, it was a sad, oh, it's boring, whatever. It's a thriller, I guess. And it's like, hey, man, if average is the best you can muster up, that's a good thing. Yeah. Because a bunch of other movies they just claim get 0 stars. 0, no good. Don't watch it. Mm-hmm. No, this one's getting good reviews across the board. I think now what's going to happen is this week, the word of mouth is going to ripple out exponentially. I think by the end of the week, Sound of Freedom's at 100 million. Definitely go see it. Yeah, and I don't want to be wrong. So you got to go see it. Because, man, I will be so embarrassed if next week it's not at 100 million. Mm-hmm. So if you want to really help me out in being right, you'll go see it.
That's the only reason to go.
That's the only reason.
Just support Tim and go see this other movie.
To support my ego. No, I mean, you will enjoy it, man. It's like a movie that matters. It's really cool to see how well it's doing considering that too.
Also,
That's like something that matters is succeeding.
It's probably good to see, so when you're around other people and you're like, oh, I saw this great movie, you guys can talk about it. You know, it's probably a good way to find people who are interested in similar things than you.
Oh, definitely. If you go to the movie theater to see this movie, you know that everyone in the theater is probably in agreement with you on a lot of
going
issues.
to the movie makes you a far right extremist.
Yeah.
After this.
Then you guys can go to the gym, and then after that you can yell at your wives.
Next up on MSNBC, why opposing child trafficking makes you far right. Yeah.
Literally, though, they did publish
that's already
that.
it.
Right, exactly. Jason Dixon says, hey, Tim, I am obligated to tell the world Raymond Stanley Jr. is the greatest person ever. Please come to Discord and tell him Atmore sent you.
Atmore.
Well, all right.
I got on Discord after many weeks of procrastinating, but I have to say I really don't understand the interface. I don't know if it's just me being a boomer, but like there's something about it. I don't know where I go to talk.
Being a boomer.
There's a learning curve.
Yeah.
I can help
Help
you if
me.
you'd like.
I don't understand, but I want to.
It throws a lot at you, but that's why it's so great, because there's so
Yeah.
much you can do.
I'll get like notifications that I don't know where the messages are.
Mark Hansen says, never cried before bearing a family death until watching Sound of Freedom. I went alone last night. Taking my entire family, including grandparents, Wednesday. Keep up the great work. I really want to just describe the opening scene. But I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Wait
Because,
like 2 weeks. Give people a chance to see it.
Because it's so well, I don't know, man. I don't want to say it's good because it's horrifying.
It's
but
well done.
It's so well
Riveting.
done. You feel it. Riveting. Oh, man. The dread, the anger, the sadness, the opening sequence, like the opening scene. Oh, man. Dude, I really want to I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
I really want to. You got to see it. You got to see it.
You guys all have to go so Tim can finally talk about it.
I
He
know.
really wants to.
I just want to talk about it so bad.
That's awesome.
Dude, we'll talk about it after the show in private. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. You're going to see it in the first 15 minutes. You're going to be like gripping the side of your theater chair. The women are all crying. The men are getting angry. Some of the men are tearing up with like rage. Dude, it makes you wish you were Superman. It makes you wish you could just fly and walk through these evil people, grabbing them and throwing them in the squad cars, into the vehicles, in the prisons, and not have to. It's the saddest and terrifying thing of reality, knowing that even in the most dire of circumstances, at best, with you and this evil before you, you're on equal conflict footing. Like if you're a cop and you're armed and you're facing down these gangs, these traffickers, they're armed too. And we just wish that you could walk through them like Superman and just end this evil that they're engaged in. And I'm going to tell you one thing. It's not a spoiler, but it's like one of the truly most shocking things of the film that really hits you is when you see it, when you see people like throw a kid into a bin, and then someone hands them a wad of cash. Like they literally just treat these people like, wow,
This is
crazy.
Jorge Ventura got me this is a little wristband from a kid that was dragged across the border. It says entregas, which means delivered.
Yep,
They're just like
delivered.
cattle. This is 4186, 4186.
And then that guy crosses the border and someone hands him a stack of cash and he's like, thanks. And then he walks away, not caring at all as to what he just did. You got to see that movie. All right, we'll grab some more. Where are we at? Dylan Binkley says, I see threads crashing and burning, much like Mixer did when Microsoft tried to compete with Twitch. Yeah, I agree. Look, the difference is that Instagram is a platform people use, and a lot of people on Instagram don't use Twitter. So Mark Zuckerberg made a good call with this in that there are a lot of people who will you click a button and doop, you've got a Threads account. That's why 100 million people have signed up. But I got to be honest. What doesn't work for me is, like, I like watching this one guy does backflips, parkour guy. And now I see him posting about going to Taco Bell. Like, bro, I literally don't care you went to Taco Bell. I just want to see you do a backflip. You know what I mean?
I honestly spend as little time on Meta products as possible. The tracking, the amount of tracking that it does to sell your data and to do experiments on you, no thank you. I have them both. I've had Facebook for 15 years, but more than that.
It always makes me think about that hearing from maybe like 2018 where one of the Facebook execs was like, yeah, we made like a very, very small algorithm changed and like millions upon millions of people, all of their online rhetoric got instantly angrier. And it's like they just admitted to having such control and power and nothing came of it, you know? So yeah, Meta does kind of rub me the wrong way. I'm very wary.
Maybe if I
those
talked to
products.
Mark Zuckerberg, I'd feel a little better. But it's the software itself, that proprietary crap and the tracking mechanisms.
Blue de Golier says, Tim, we have a road trip drama feature slated for next spring. Studio director. Tried sending script to Ian, but he hasn't responded. Happy to product place your coffee in one of the scenes, no charge. Where do I send the script?
Don't send me script. Who sent me a script for what? For this is a movie they want to sell?
I don't think we can accept scripts.
I'm not sure. We don't take submissions because there's legal implications.
Yeah, you're not legally allowed to. Like you are, but basically what happens is the reason why no one will accept any solicited materials is because then you get into IP disputes.
Yes. If I end up writing something that is akin to what you wrote, but I actually never saw what you wrote, then you might have a grounds to be like, hey, I sent that to you. That's evidence that you ripped me off.
Yep. And then we're like, nope, because we don't accept those.
I don't want to turn it all off, though, so I don't know. Maybe.
But I'll tell you what, feel free to place cast brew coffee products in any film at any point and have people drink them. That'd be great.
As long as they like them, and then they tell other people to get cast brew coffee.
As long as at least one person does. Like if you write a whole scene where two guys are arguing over whether it's good or not, I'm totally okay with that. Like, this coffee's terrible. Are you kidding? It's some of the best I've ever had. What? Why? What are you talking about? And then
So you're like social media, where the negative feedback is also good because people will then be like, well, what is that coffee?
I'm just saying it gets me more screen time.
Have it where the guy's like breaking in and the guy splashes hot cast brew in his face and he's like, ah! And he like saves the day.
We're working on that Seamus, the Seamus coffee. Yeah, we got some good ideas. It's gonna be fun. I forgot. I think we came up with a name. Yeah,
Irish blend or something. No,
we came up with a name for it. I got to talk to him. We got to figure it out. It was funny. I tweeted today that there's an Irishman who lives under my house and he keeps stealing my spoons, but no one will believe me. And
Did all of your spoons reappear suddenly?
But it's fun. It's actually Seamus's joke. So basically, Seamus had to return our spoons because he was eating with them and then putting them in his sink and not returning them to us. And so then we were like, yo, Seamus, you got to bring the spoons back. And he's like, oh, sorry about that. And then it's like, it wasn't really anything that mattered until he was like, there's an Irishman living under my house stealing all of my spoons. And it was like one of the funniest things he said. So I was like, that's actually a good point. And you phrase it that way, no one will believe you. Mm-hmm. But if it's actually like, there's a guy who lives in my apartment and he borrowed silverware from me and then we asked him for it back, it's actually just like, oh, well, that's like not news. That's not interesting at all. But so I had to tweet it because it was funny. He lives under my house. He keeps stealing my spoons. No one will believe me. The Moffinator says, yeah, because Jack White has the same star power as Guy Fieri, Mark Wahlberg, Mel Gibson, and Joe Rogan. What a joke. Yep, what a joke.
Yeah, I want to see this guy host diners, drive-ins, and dives and see what he does. He could never.
That show makes me so hungry.
I'm telling you, it was a classic.
You shake people's hands. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, of course.
Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, is at a UFC game. You're like, nice to meet you. Have a nice day. And Jack White's like, oh. You know what I think is really the deal? Jack White never got to meet Trump.
Jealousy. Interesting.
Yep. It's envy. It's clearly envy. He's sitting there probably in his, like, where's he been? Is he relevant? What's going on with him? He's making music. He's probably sitting there being like, why aren't I there with everybody, everyone loving me and being famous? Why am I sitting here on Instagram complaining about the world?
It's FOMO. He's sad that he wasn't invited.
Yep. Because you have Guy Fieri. He's probably thinking, like, I'm 10 times more famous than that guy. And I don't get to meet Trump? Well, no, but I don't even want to meet him. He's racist. We shouldn't call it sour grapes. We should call it something else. We'd be like, we should call it Trump is racist.
Just bitter.
Yeah. You guys know the sour grapes parable or whatever, right?
No.
Fox walks up to a tree and he sees a grapevine hanging from the branch. And he's like, ooh, grapes, I'm going to get them. Jumps in the air, misses, jumps in the air, misses. And he starts getting frustrated. He jumps again and he can't get him. He goes, those grapes are sour anyway. The point being, you insult the thing you couldn't get. That's literally what he's doing. It's sour grapes. Jack White doesn't get to be there at the main event for this big fight where all these celebrities are sitting with Trump and everyone's making a big deal about it. Kid Rock and, Mike Tyson, Joe Rogan, like whatever. And he's sitting at home grumbling about how his time has come and gone. And so he's like, yeah, well, Trump's a racist anyway.
I feel like that about Bert Kreischer because I'm always like, when I see him on with Tom Segura on Two Bears 1K, everyone who's doing rogue, I'm always like, man, he's not even that great anyway. But it's just because I want to be Bert's best friend. I love you, Bert. I love you.
We will grab a couple more.
He's a good guy. I like Bert.
Adam says, hey, Tim, has anyone ever told you that your singing voice sounds similar to the lead singer of Radiohead? It does to me anyway. Hope you take this as a compliment. I love Radiohead. They're fantastic. No one has ever told me that. Although I will say, back in the day when I used to play Rock Band, I could perfect Creep by Radiohead. Yeah, perfect it. Now, to be fair, singing on Rock Band isn't like real singing. You're just matching the tones. So you're like watching a little line going and go like, ooh, and like until it lines up. But if you actually sing it, you can like catch it. But yeah, I'm that's like the only song I was ever able to actually master and
That
get,
would
like
be
the full 5 stars or
A
whatever.
good use of artificial intelligence would be to match the tone of your voice. Be like, how much were you feeling it? And then it can score you on that.
Jason McCart says, does Tim know he makes an appearance in John McNaughton's Speak the Truth painting? What an honor. I saw that. I looked it up, and sure enough, I do have an appearance in that painting. Where is it? Is it here? It looks super cool. Wait, there it is. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to look up Speak the Truth, McNaughton Fine Art. It's a fantastic painting. There's like Charlie Kirk. There's me. I think that's Jack Posobiec. There's Candace Owens, James O'Keefe. It looks like Sean Hannity's there. Tucker Carlson's walking up and they're handing papers to the founding fathers. What a great picture. America's great. X5 Podcast, really appreciate the very large super chat saying, huge fan, guys. Keep it up. We will. And thank you so much for your support. Woo. Randall Morgan says, testosterone changed my life. I tested low and have been taking it for 9 months. I feel like I was sick before. Now I feel good. Energy, motivation, metabolism, and strength all changed. That's right. It's good stuff. You can get it from exercise too. You get a lot from lifting. So the big plan with Ian is that no cardio. It's not going to be like cardio stuff. It's going to be like strength stuff. But we'll see. I don't know. We got a trainer, and you got to eat a lot of steak.
It's kind of like, I don't know a lot about it yet, but when you do strength training, you're doing burst muscle moves, and then you don't want to do cardio because the cardio actually lets the blood flow out. Is that right? So you want to like just pinch it off and kind of hope that the swell takes over?
I don't know.
I'll know. The trainer will know.
What I do know is we're going to go to the members only section over at timcast.com. So head over to timcast.com, click join us, and that will be live in a few minutes. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Natalie, do you want to shout anything out?
Natalie G. Winters on Twitter and Instagram.
Right on.
I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. You should go to timcast.com and click on the read tab. You can see all the work from me and all of our other journalists. I don't know, I'm stumbling with this tonight. You should follow at Timcast News on Twitter and Instagram. It's the best. If you want to follow me personally, you can find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b and on Twitter at HCBrimlow. Thanks so much.
Follow me at Ian Crossan on the internet. If anyone has a dog or they're thinking about getting a dog, and you like this story about wolves and proto dogs, call your dog Proto. I don't want a dog right now, but if I did, I would call it Proto. Because like Frodo, you know, like Proto the dog. That'd be cool. Hey, see you later.
And again, I was filling in for Serge tonight. My name is Kellen. Follow me at KellenPDL pretty much everywhere. Thanks, guys.
We will see you all over at timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out.